Chapter 2591. Quiet Trouble. That's right, Han Jingjing definitely has better pill refining materials in her hands that can increase the success rate and quality of the pills. Old Man Yu nodded and said, Coiling Tiger, are you sure that every time Boss Bai gave Lin Yi's information you saw it? You didn't miss anything? That's for sure. Besides, the information I exchanged from Lin Yi was also done step by step. Only this time did I get something good. The previous ones were all ordinary stuff. Yu Coiling Tiger said, and when Han Jingjing was refining pills, there was no such information. Their information must be their own, not given by Boss Bai. That's true. Old Master Yu nodded. In other words, Han Jingjing definitely has good alchemy materials in her hands, right? That must be it. Yu Coiling Tiger said, otherwise, why wouldn't Han Jingjing show me her information every time I went to see her? Logically speaking, I've already gotten all of her information. If she doesn't show me the rest, then there must be a problem. By the way, Father, I suddenly remembered something. Yu Jintian frowned and suddenly said with a solemn expression, we've all overlooked something important. What is it? Old Master Yu was stunned. Father, do you remember when we found the tomb of the elixir god Zhang Liju near Songshan? Yu Jintian said. In the eyes of normal people, Zhang Liju was the medical saint, but in the mouth of practitioners, Zhang Liju was the elixir god. That's true, but what does this have to do with Lin Yi? At that time, Old Man Yu also wanted to rob the ancient tomb, but later he heard that the ancient tomb was extremely dangerous, so he gave up. It doesn't seem to be related, but it is actually very related. Father, do you remember how Lin Yi provoked Hidden House Yu and Hidden House Zhao? Where did the Hidden House Yu's Yu Huixing find the qi-gathering pill? Yu Jintian asked. Ancient tomb. Lin Yi also went to the ancient tomb. Elder Yu reacted at once. Yes, since Lin Yi snatched a qi-gathering pill, it meant that Lin Yi must have been to the ancient tomb. Otherwise, how could Lin Yi know so much about it? Later on, it was said that Yu Huixing had admitted and realized that the person in the tomb was Lin Yi in disguise. Yeah, do you think it's possible that Lin Yi found Zhang Liju's notes in the tomb and gave it to Han Jingjing? Yu Jintian said, otherwise how could Han Jingjing be so good at making elixirs? And improving at a godly speed? That's right. If that's the case, then everything makes sense. Old Yu nodded, that must be the case. Lin Yi must have gotten Zhang Liju's refiner's notes. No wonder he didn't like what Boss Bai gave him and gave us Boss Bai's notes so easily. It turns out that he has something better. Grandpa, then I'll go trade with Lin Yi? Yu Coiling Tiger asked quickly. No, you go trade with Lin Yi. Lin Yi won't give you Zhang Liju's notes. It'll expose our purpose too. Old Yu shook his head decisively and denied Yu Coiling Tiger's suggestion. Things are out of our Hidden House Yu's range now. Since we can't trade, we can't take it by force. Last time, third brother, you almost died pretending to be a robber. We can't take the risk and offend Lin Yi. So we give up just like that? Yu Coiling Tiger was also a refiner. He knew the importance of good information. He also knew how difficult it was for Han Jingjing to be able to make so many high-quality pills in such a short time. He wanted to learn as well. Of course, the Hidden House Yu didn't doubt that Han Jingjing could concoct pills together and even make a few extra pills. To them, this was unimaginable. Of course we can't give up. However, we have to report this to Sky Elixir Sect. As long as Sky Elixir Sect obtains this information, we can also get a share of it. After all, we were the ones who leaked the information. That's true. Yu Coiling Tiger was a little disappointed. It seemed like this had nothing to do with him. After the secret talk, Old Master Yu reported his deduction to Silkworm Change. However, when he heard that Han Jingjing was Boss Bai's student, Silkworm Change hesitated. This matter was not something he could decide, so he could only continue to report to his grandfather and report to his superiors. Old Tion's other identity was that place's representative in the ancient level. He knew a little more, so it was a bit of a headache for him to deal with Boss Bai's student. He could only continue to report it to the higher-ups, to the Xianxian Elder. Yu Coiling Tiger didn't expect that their greed for Han Jingjing's information would actually alarm the people of that place. The Xianxian Elder listened to Old Tion's report and his face darkened. It was actually Zhang Liju's refiner's notes? That was such an important thing. Although Han Jingjing was Boss Bai's student, what if it was done in secret? Thinking of this, the Xianxian Elder immediately went to find his second senior brother, the Xuanzhan Elder. Second senior brother, take a look at this information from the ancient Sky Elixir Sect. The Xianxian Elder passed the information to the Xuanzhan Elder. Oh? Information from the Sky Elixir Sect? The Xuanzhan Elder took the information from the Xianxian Elder and read it carefully. But halfway through, his face changed, Zhang Liju's refiner's notes? That's right, it's Zhang Liju's refiner's notes. He's also our second master's teacher. The Xianqian elder nodded. You're saying that we should get this information back? But this Han Jingjing, she's boss's disciple. The Xuanzhan elder hesitated. His refiner skills were higher than the Xianqian elders, and he had more pursuits as well. But after seeing Han Jingjing's identity, he backed off. What disciple? She's just a student. It's just a normal teacher-student relationship. It's not a big deal. The Xianqian elder smiled, and it seems like this student is hiding something. Boss doesn't know that she has Zhang Liju's refiner's notes. Plus, Zhang Liju is our second master's teacher. It's reasonable for us to get this information back, right? That's true, but it involves boss. The Xuanzhan elder was still hesitant. Chapter 2592. FF37, FF18, XFF33, FF23, OMU 85C0F, 8BF4, 66F4, 65B0, 6700, 5 February, 5C0F, 8BF4, 9605, 8BFB, 7F51. This? Then don't hurt her. It's best to get the information back secretly. The Xuanzhan ancestor sighed and finally nodded. After all, he was looking forward to this information. Don't worry, that's boss's territory. I have to give him some face, right? The Xuanzhan ancestor smiled. All right then, make the arrangements. If there's nothing else, I'll continue looking for a way to cure Tagan Dragon. The Xuanzhan ancestor didn't like to get involved in disputes. His energy was spent on training and studying Tagan Dragon's injuries. All right, second brother, leave it to me. The Xianqian ancestor stood up and sent the Xuanzhan ancestor away. He then called his eldest disciple Little E in. Greetings, master. Little E said respectfully. Little E, take a look at this information first. The Xianqian ancestor threw the information to Little E and said, Yes, master. Little E took the information and quickly read it carefully. In the end, he asked carefully, Master, you mean that I should look for this Han Jingjing on the way down the mountain? That's right. No matter what, you have to force Zhang Liju's notes out of her. The Xianqian ancestor said coldly, but you have to be mindful that this is your uncle's territory. Don't let him see it. He's famous for being protective, understand? I understand. Don't worry, master. Little Yi's expression turned serious as he quickly replied, Then what happens after we force her to reveal the whereabouts of the notes? Do I need to teach you? The Xianqian ancestor snorted and made a gesture of cutting his throat. Yes, master. Little one hurriedly nodded. Don't tell your second martial uncle about this either. Just keep it to yourself, understand? The Xianqian ancestor warned again. The Xuanzhan ancestor was soft-hearted and couldn't bear to do something bad. However, the Xianqian ancestor was ruthless. He viewed human lives as worthless and didn't care about such things. Don't worry, master. I will be careful. Little E also knew that his second martial uncle was benevolent, so it was better not to let him know about this matter of silencing someone. Yes, you are the disciple I trust the most. This time don't go alone. Bring along 11th, who's also your junior sister. Let her broaden her horizons, said Patriarch Xianqian. Thank you, master. A look of joy flashed in Little Yi's eyes. The few of them were secretly in love with little junior sister. If he and little junior sister descended the mountain together, wouldn't there be a chance? Actually, speaking of this little junior sister, although she was quite pretty, she had a mean appearance. It was very cool but not very gentle. However, there was only one female disciple on the mountain. There were too many wolves and not enough meat. Therefore, little one and the other senior and junior brothers all had a crush on this little junior sister. It was just that this junior sister's temper was abnormally bad, and her character was not very good. However, little one did know that this junior sister's other identity was Patriarch Xuanqian's illegitimate daughter. Patriarch Xianqian didn't seem to be married and didn't have any children. However, when he was young he left behind a child. This child was little junior sister, but that woman died from a difficult birth. There weren't many people who knew about this. This was also the reason why this little junior sister could be arrogant and domineering in the sect even though she was crafty and mean. Little one thought even further. If he could marry little junior sister, wouldn't his relationship with Master be closer in the future? If there was a chance to open the Heavenly Island, would Master bring him there too? This was little one's expectation. That afternoon, little one and little 11 packed their bags and went down the mountain. Their first target was Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi's identity was very easy to investigate. As long as they took her portrait and investigated in Songshan, they would quickly find out her identity. Previously, Sun Jingyi was a celebrity in the business world. She had her own company and had business dealings with many trading companies, so it was very easy to find out her identity. As for Lin Yi, Patriarch Xuanzhen's men didn't alarm the local hidden families or the forces of the families. They only asked ordinary people, so naturally they wouldn't know Lin Yi's identity. Patriarch Xianzhen was very secretive. In fact, he was also afraid that their big brother, Patriarch Xianzhen, would find out about their little tricks in private. Patriarch Xuanzhen's heart was similar to Patriarch Xuanzhen's. They were both kind-hearted and couldn't stand bullying others. So all of this was done in secret. Now that they'd found out Sun Jingyi's identity, the identity of the Zhang Naipeo man with her wasn't important anymore. As long as they captured Sun Jingyi, they'd be able to find the treasure, and they'd be able to lure that man over. Although Patriarch Xianzhen and Patriarch Xuanzhen said that it was on the way, Patriarch Xianzhen and Little Yi didn't say so. Han Jingjing's matter was equally important, even more important than revenge. At the end of the day, Taganlong was already like this. Revenge was just a pleasure in the heart. Finding that treasure and Zhang Liju's notes was the most important. With a clear target in mind, finding people was naturally easy. The people sent out by that place had their eyes on Jingyi even before Little 1 and Little 11 had arrived. At the moment, Jingyi was training in the hotel room of the Shueshang Hotel. Sun Jingyi practiced the Sun family's arts, using the magical little stone that Lin Yi and she found in the Wulanhate Mountains. At first, Sun Jingyi broke through the first level of the arts and successfully entered the second level. Then she continued to soar, and just as she was about to complete the second level, Sun Jingyi was shocked to find that the qi in the stone was becoming less and less. Although it wasn't to the point where it was completely gone, it was definitely not as abundant as before, and Sun Jingyi's cultivation speed had also slowed down, almost to a standstill. Originally, Sun Jingyi wanted to report her cultivation situation to Lin Yi to make him happy, but before Sun Jingyi could say anything, something like this happened. Sun Jingyi didn't know if her original cultivation speed had slowed down, or if the qi in the stone was almost used up. If it was almost used up, wouldn't that be too much of a scam? The thing that she had spent so much effort to find was used up so quickly? Just when Sun Jingyi was confused, there was a knock on the door. "Who is it?" Sun Jingyi asked. "Waiter, clean the room." A female voice came from outside the room. Sun Jingyi didn't think much and opened the door. After all, she stayed in a hotel room every day, and the waiter would come to clean the room and send some daily toiletries. FF37, W03C9, 30FB, Off 4D. Chapter 2593. FF37, FF18, XFF33. FF23, OMU 85C0F, 8BF4, 66F4, 65B0, 6700, 5 February, 5C0F, 8BF4, 9605, 8BFB, 7F51, but unexpectedly the person who entered was a woman dressed in black. The moment she entered, she tapped Sun Jingyi's body and sealed Sun Jingyi's acupoints, making her unable to move or speak. True ancient martial arts. Sun Jingyi was shocked. Although Lin Yi was also proficient in sealing acupoints, that was a lost art. Sun Jingyi never expected that the person who entered was also an expert in this field. Following the woman in black was a long-haired man with a gloomy appearance. After the two of them entered, they immediately closed the door. Sun Jingyi's room was at the end of the hotel corridor. Beside it was a power-changing room. In addition, the sound installation was good, so it was impossible for the sound in the room to spread to other rooms. Sun Jingyi originally wanted to cultivate here without being disturbed, but she never expected that it would become the best place for Little 1 and Little 11 to make a move. That's right, these two people were Little 1 and Little 11, who came from that place under the orders of Ancestor Xianzhen to find Sun Jingyi and Han Jingjing. They also booked a room in the hotel, but when they saw Sun Jingyi's room, they immediately changed their minds. Sun Jingyi's room was more secure and confidential than theirs. It was easier to directly interrogate Sun Jingyi here than to capture her. "Little junior sister, I'll interrogate her here first. You go and capture Han Jingjing. In school, it's more convenient for you to make a move than me," Little 1 said to Little 11. "Okay, eldest senior brother. I hope you can get some clues before I come back," Little junior sister said. "Don't worry, little junior sister. I definitely won't let down Master's trust," Little 1 said as he patted his chest. "However, this girl is a beauty. You have to be careful when you interrogate her." The little junior sister glanced at Sun Jingyi and warned her. "Ahem ahem." Small 1 jumped in fright and hurriedly expressed his loyalty. "Little junior sister, the heavens and earth can bear witness to my feelings for you. How could I do such a thing? I hope what you said is true. Little junior sister snorted coldly. He turned around and left the room. As for small one, his forehead was covered in cold sweat. Although Sun Jingyi was beautiful, and many times more beautiful than his junior sister, small one was very clear that he couldn't touch this woman. Even if he had thoughts about her, he couldn't. Otherwise, if his junior sister found out, he wouldn't have a chance. Little junior sister was not as good as Sun Jingyi. Moreover, his personality wasn't good, but he had a powerful father. If he married him, then little one would be able to obtain more cultivation resources in that place in the future. When he went to the Heaven Stage Island, he would even be able to obtain more than others. For a cultivator of his level, pursuing the heavenly Tao was more tempting. Women were secondary. Of course. Women who were useful to him were another matter altogether. All right, you can speak now. Small one casually pointed. A steel ball popped out of Sun Jingyi's body, and Sun Jingyi regained her ability to speak. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, small one didn't even touch Sun Jingyi. He didn't want to lose the opportunity to advance to the heavenly Tao because of a beautiful woman. Among his fellow disciples, his relationship with his junior sister was considered pretty good. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to work together. He wanted to cultivate more feelings, and from his master's actions this time, it could be seen that he also had this intention. Therefore, it was impossible for small one not to seize this opportunity. Who are you? What is your purpose for coming here? Sun Jingyi didn't shout because she knew the geographical location of the room she had booked. At this time, if she shouted, unless it was at the door, it would be very difficult for outsiders to hear. In the end, she was someone who had gone through many storms with Lin Yi, so at this time she didn't panic too much. Sun Jingyi, right? Was it you and a person called Zhang Naipeo who went to Oolong Haut Mountains, took the treasure, and killed my 6th, 12th, and 13th brothers? Small one didn't beat around the bush with Sun Jingyi, and went straight to the point. Since you've already investigated, why ask me? Sun Jingyi wasn't stupid. This person even knew her name and knew that she went to Oolong Haut Mountains with Lin Yi. Even if he didn't know Lin Yi's name, he knew the truth pretty well, so Sun Jingyi didn't have to hide it. You're here to avenge them? You can say yes and you can say no. You don't have much power on you, so if you want to talk about killing, it should be that Zhang Naipeo who killed them. Now I'll give you a chance to live. What is the treasure you got? Tell me and I won't kill you. Small one asked. Treasure? Sun Jingyi sighed. A wise man didn't fight when the odds were against him, and the treasure didn't seem to be very useful to her anymore. Even if she didn't say anything, the other party could still find it after searching her room. So Sun Jingyi said directly. It's on the bed over there in that small box. Small one didn't think that things would go so smoothly. He didn't even need to use a bunch of threatening words. It saved him a lot of trouble. Small one picked up the small box on the bed and opened it, but frowned when he saw what was inside. Pure Chi Energy Stone? Small one took out the stone and looked at it a few times before throwing it back into the box. And it's a stone that's almost used up? This is the treasure you got? So it's this. What else is there? Sun Jingyi paused. It seemed like there were other things besides this? Just this one? This thing can only increase the speed of cultivation, but it can't step into the path of heaven. Small one was completely uninterested in that energy stone and threw it back on the bed. He frowned and asked, You're not lying? Sun Jingyi shook her head. Oh. Look into my eyes. Small one suddenly shouted. Oh. Sun Jingyi subconsciously raised her head and looked into small one's eyes. But with one look, her face suddenly became confused, and the previous nervousness in her eyes was replaced with a dull look. Phew. Small one looked at Sun Jingyi's appearance and smiled. It seemed that his hypnotism was successful. Hypnotism was actually a kind of spiritual power release for cultivators. Alchemists and weapon-forging masters with strong spiritual power could use it. And people from that place more or less knew some alchemy skills, so they weren't unfamiliar with hypnotism. Of course, it was limited to ordinary people like Sun Jingyi who didn't have any cultivation ability. If the other party was a cultivator, even if it was a yellow-rank cultivator, it would be difficult to use it. And if it was a mystic or earth-rank cultivator, it was basically impossible to succeed, unless it was an extremely heaven-defying hypnotism. FF37, W03C9, 30FB, Off 4D. Chapter 2594. The troublesome result, however, Little E didn't know how to do it, and neither did little junior sister. Even Patriarch Shenshin himself didn't know how to do it. Those hypnosis techniques were all secret techniques, and those who cultivated them were all demon sect disciples. For example, the Everyday sect had a hypnosis expert in the past. What's your name? What's the name of the person who went to the Wulonghout mountain range with you? Where is he now? Little E asked. My name is Sun Jingyi. The person who went to the Wulonghout mountain range with me is called Lin Yi. He's studying medicine in the biology department of Donghai Engineering University, Sun Jingyi answered blankly. Biology department of medicine? Little Yi's mouth twitched. Why was it this major again? It seemed like things were going to be a little difficult. He had to keep a low profile when he went to catch them later. So he said, why did you go to the Wulonghout mountain range? What was the treasure you found in the Wulonghout mountain range? I went to the Wulonghout mountain range because among the things my parents left me there was a map. It was the treasure map of that treasure, Sun Jingyi said truthfully. That treasure is the stone that can cultivate on the bed. After hearing this, Little E frowned. It seemed that Sun Jingyi wasn't lying. It seemed that Little 6, Little 12 and Little 13's deaths were really not worth it. They actually lost their lives for such a useless treasure. He originally thought that this sect had something good, but he didn't expect that the so-called treasure was this. Did you have any other fortuitous encounters? You only got this one thing from the Wulonghout mountain range? Little E asked unwillingly. We also encountered the fire lions and spiders. As she spoke, Sun Jingyi told him about encountering the fire lions and spiders in the Wulonghout mountain range, and also about the teleportation array that could open the heavenly Tao. However, Little E was surprised and overjoyed when he heard that the teleportation array could only be used 3 times. It had already been used twice before, and the fire lions and spiders had disappeared. Then, it was impossible for Little E not to think of some troublesome things. Was the last usage right of the teleportation formation used by the Fire Lion clan and the Spider clan? If that was really the case, then it would make him speechless. Although they had found the shortcut to the Heaven Tao that they had painstakingly searched for, it couldn't be used anymore. This was simply like a starving person seeing a piece of bread, only to realize that the bread was just a model. As for Sun Jingyi, he no longer wanted to ask anything. Even the thought of looking for Lin Yi had faded. The matter was already very clear. The so-called precious treasure was not a precious treasure in Xiao Yi's eyes. The real precious treasure was the Heaven's Way teleportation formation, but it was probably unusable now. Draw the map of the cave for me right now. Xiao Yi flicked out another steel ball, allowing Sun Jingyi to regain her ability to move. He then gave her a pen and a piece of paper, asking her to draw the map on it. Sun Jingyi didn't remember the details, but she could still draw the general location. Xiao Yi and the others knew the map of Wulonghout like the back of their hands. Although it wasn't very accurate, Sun Jingyi could more or less determine the general location of the cave. Donghai Engineering University. Lin Yi came to school after sending off the Zhu brothers. He had actually made an important decision this time. He was going to show Boss by the notes of Zhang Liju's refiner that he had found in the ancient tomb. As for Boss by selflessly giving his own information to Lin Yi, even letting Lin Yi exchange it with Right Coiling Tiger, Lin Yi was very grateful. If the first one was just normal information, then the later one was Boss Bai's unique secret manual. After all, it was left to him by his Shifu. And Lin Yi wasn't the kind of person who only asked for things without thinking of reciprocation. He was a person who could clearly distinguish between kindness and hatred. Since Boss Bai was like this, he would naturally return the favor. In fact, the simplest way that Lin Yi could think of was to help Boss Bai recover his injured meridians and let him become a refiner again. This would be the greatest help to both Lin Yi and Han Jingjing. However, there were too many things involved, and Boss Bai would inevitably know Lin Yi's secrets. Although Lin Yi and Boss Bai had a good relationship as teacher and student, up until now Lin Yi still didn't know about Boss Bai's background and the secrets behind it. Which force and sect did he belong to back then? Lin Yi had to figure it out. Even if Lin Yi didn't think that Boss Bai would harm him, his abilities were simply too scary. Boss Bai's injuries were clearly different from Zhu Lao Tu and Pai Zhihai's injuries. Although Boss Bai didn't say it out loud, Lin Yi could tell that there was definitely something behind his injuries back then. Was his injury caused by the enemy or was it caused by other methods? It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't trust Boss Bai, but he was afraid of the consequences after Boss Bai recovered. If Boss Bai's enemies knew that he had recovered, what would they think? What kind of person was Boss Bai? At least the ancient level, so Lin Yi didn't want to bring trouble to himself. As for letting Boss Bai see Zhang Liju's refiner notes, it was just a compromise. It was lunch break now and Lin Yi didn't go to the classroom. He went straight to Boss Bai's office and knocked on the door. Boss Bai was indeed there. Come in. Boss Bai's voice came from the office. Lin Yi opened the door, a smile on his face. Teacher Bai. Lin Yi? Why are you here? Boss Bai was a bit puzzled. Lin Yi rarely came uninvited, unless he was invited. Otherwise, it was hard to see him at school, and he had been asking for leave recently. Teacher Bai, there's something I need to talk to you about. Lin Yi said seriously as he closed the door. Oh, what is it? Sit down and talk. Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi's serious tone and found it strange. He didn't understand what Lin Yi had to do to make such a big fuss. It's like this actually. There's something I've been hiding from you. Lin Yi was a bit ashamed. Boss Bai had been taking care of him wholeheartedly, but Lin Yi had been holding back. What is it? Boss Bai heard Lin Yi's words and was even more confused. Is it about you being a refiner? Kind of, but also not. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and told the truth. Actually, I've been to Zhang Liju's grave before. Chapter 2595. Han Jingjing, kidnapped. It wasn't that Boss Bai hadn't heard of Zhang Liju's tomb. He knew where it was, and he knew that there were good things inside, but his Shifu had sent people to investigate the tomb before, and it was full of traps, so they gave up on the idea of going in. After all, if a Sky class went in and didn't come out, who would dare to go in? Although the news had reported that a group of tomb robbers had been caught, and Boss Bai had guessed that they might have gone to Zhang Liju's tomb, but he didn't really care. Zhang Liju's tomb wasn't a place anyone could enter. It was said that the traps inside could only be entered with a detailed map and instructions that had been passed down at the beginning without being killed. Boss Bai stayed around to teach because he wanted to look for the lost map and instructions that had been lost years ago too. It was just that it had been too long and there were no clues to follow. However, Boss Bai was only a little surprised before returning to normal. Haha, you're trying to say that you've been to the Grand Master's tomb, right? That's fine, you haven't gone in yet, right? Actually, my Shifu had plans to rob tombs back then, and he wanted to see if there were any notes left behind by Zhang Liju. I went in. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It seemed that Boss Bai had misunderstood him, thinking that Lin Yi was admitting that he had offended the Grand Master, but that wasn't what Lin Yi meant. What? You went in? Then how did you come out? Boss Bai's eyes widened as he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Oh? I get it, you just went in and you came out? Master Bai, I'll tell you the truth. I entered the tomb and got Zhang Liju's notes, and his pet followed me out of the tomb as well. Lin Yi quickly interrupted by Boss's words and said directly. What? You actually got Master Zhang Liju's refiner's notes? And his pet? Could it be the Skybolt pig? Boss Bai paused and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Yes, Lin Yi nodded. Oh, you've actually been acknowledged by the Skybolt pig? According to the legends, the one who was recognized by Skybolt pig was Zhang Liju's last disciple. And you? Bai Boss was a bit messed up as he stood up. According to the teachings of our ancestors, you are also my ancestor. Grandmaster, please accept this disciple's bow. Don't. Teacher Bai, what are you doing? Lin Yi jumped in fright and quickly held on to Boss Bai, stopping him from kowtowing. I was just lucky enough to get this alchemist's notes, and Skybolt Pig only followed me because we were fated to get along. How could I be your ancestor? That's what the ancestors told us. Master Zhang Liju left a letter saying that he was going to find a disciple, and whoever got his notes and got the approval of Skybolt Pig would be his disciple, the next inheritor of his legacy. But all these years we haven't seen Skybolt Pig in Master Zhang Liju's notes. We suspected that he didn't find a disciple and brought them into the tomb, and now it seems like that's the case. Boss Bai explained, so the rules of the ancestors can't be ignored. Since you got it and got the approval of Skybolt Pig, then you are my ancestor. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He couldn't do anything about Boss Bai's stubbornness. Alright then, let's talk about our own things. In this school you are my teacher, right? I'm a student here and you're a teacher here. That can't be changed, right? That's true. Boss Bai wasn't a stubborn person and naturally he understood what Lin Yi meant. So, since I'm your ancestor and you're my teacher, then let's help each other. But in school you're still my teacher and I'm still your student. In private you can think whatever you want. Lin Yi could only take a step back. He didn't expect Zhang Liju to have this rule, but only a righteous person like Boss Bai would follow it. If it were someone with bad intentions, they would kill him and rob him of his treasure. There was no way they would acknowledge the existence of a grandmaster like him. That's fine. Boss Bai knew that the relationship between the two was a bit messy. In school he was indeed Lin Yi's teacher. This was a fact that couldn't be changed. Master Bai, actually I came here this time to show you the notes. After all, it's supposed to be yours. I kept it for so long before I took it out. Lin Yi said, a bit embarrassed. That's not right. Whether it's from the point of view of my ancestor or from the point of view of my disciple, this alchemist's notes are also yours. Even if it's between fellow disciples, it should be obtained by fate. I'm already very happy that you're willing to share it with me. Boss Bai didn't try to push it away. To be honest, he had been looking forward to this notes for a long time. Alright, since everything's settled, I'll go find Han Jingjing and have her send you a copy. She's already scanned it into an electronic version. Lin Yi said. Now that everything was settled, Lin Yi had one of his wishes fulfilled. After all, Boss Bai had done so much for him, and it wouldn't be right if Lin Yi didn't return the favor. Although Zhang Liju's notes were much more valuable than the information Boss Bai had given him, it was still something that belonged to Master Bai's sect. Lin Yi took out his phone and was about to call Han Jingjing when Wang Xinyan called first. At noon, because Lin Yi didn't come, Wang Xinyan and Han Jingjing went to the cafeteria for lunch. But before they reached the cafeteria, a black SUV drove over and stopped beside Wang Xinyan and Han Jingjing. While the two were still in shock, the car door opened and a woman in black stepped out. She didn't even give Xinyan and Han Jingjing a chance to ask anything before striking first with a karate chop at Han Jingjing's neck. Han Jingjing was an earth class, but her defense was very weak. Plus, the woman in black was a sky class, so even if Han Jingjing had chi protecting her, it wouldn't be able to do anything. Chapter 2596. Hypnosis. Xinyan was a bit dumbfounded. Why was this the same as when she was kidnapped? But wasn't the kidnapping case solved? Why was it here again? Xinyan picked up the tablet from the ground and called Lin Yi's number. What's up, Xinyan? Lin Yi picked up Xinyan's call. Xinyan wouldn't call Lin Yi if it wasn't something important. She was always a little shy, like she couldn't let go of her emotions. Lin Yi, it's bad, Jingjing's been kidnapped. Xinyan said, panicking. It's a black Lexus, there's no license plate on the back and I didn't see the front plate. What? Jingjing's been kidnapped? Lin Yi paused. He was just about to ask Han Jingjing to send the information to Boss Bai, but now she was kidnapped. Why was it another kidnapping? Was it in Jianghu's doing? Lin Yi was furious at the thought, but he still tried to comfort her. Don't worry, Xinyan. Where are you? I'll go find you right now. I'm on the way to the cafeteria from the classroom, I passed by that flower bed. Xinyan said. Flower bed? Okay, got it. Lin Yi frowned. There were two paths from the school building to the cafeteria. One was the normal path with more people while Xinyan and Han Jingjing took the smaller path. The path here wasn't easy to walk on, and there were a lot of potholes and collapses. It was winter now and it wouldn't be good for construction. They'd have to wait until next spring, so there weren't that many people in the day. Only couples would come here for a date at night, but it was winter now, so there weren't that many couples. Still, this path was only accessible by off-road vehicles. It seemed that the kidnappers had made preparations, huh? But Lin Yi had misunderstood. Little 1 and Little 11 had come from out of town, so it was more convenient for them to use off-road vehicles. They weren't here to kidnap Han Jingjing. Lin Yi, what happened? Boss Bai heard the words like kidnapping and asked after Lin Yi hung up the phone. Han Jingjing has been kidnapped. I'll deal with it first. Mr. Bai, I'll give you the information after this is over, Lin Yi said quickly. Okay, don't worry about the documents. It's more important for you to save people first. Do you need any help? Boss Bai asked solemnly. Not now. I'll contact you when I need you. Lin Yi said. Okay, then keep in touch. Boss Bai nodded. Lin Yi quickly ran out of Boss Bai's office and dialed Jianghu's number. At this moment, Jianghu was discussing how to deal with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company with the leader and elder of the Firewolves North when Lin Yi's call came in. Jianghu jumped in fright when he saw the caller ID. Why was it Lin Yi? Could it be that Lin Yi already knew about his plan? That was impossible. They had just started discussing and hadn't started yet. How did Lin Yi know about it? Jianghu quickly put a finger to his mouth. It's Lin Yi. The leader and elder's faces changed as well. The leader said, answer it and ask him what's the matter. Jianghu nodded and picked up the phone. Boss Lin Yi, what's the matter? Why are you calling me all of a sudden? Jianghu, I don't have time to waste with you. I just want to ask you something. Are you kidnapping people again? Lin Yi asked. Kidnapping? Jianghu paused and relaxed. No, I haven't kidnapped people for a long time. I'm doing a legitimate business now. I'm running a casino. Lin Yi didn't know what to say when Jianghu said that running a casino was a legitimate business. But compared to what Jianghu had done before, this was the most legitimate business. Are you sure? Lin Yi asked. My friend just got kidnapped and she's still alive. She's in the school. No. Boss Lin Yi, don't you know who I am? Even if I wanted to kidnap someone, I wouldn't kidnap someone close to you. I haven't lived long enough. Jianghu smiled bitterly. You can even kill a sky class in one hit. Even the elders of the Firewolf gang couldn't take you on. Do you think I'd offend you for some ransom money? Fine, I guess you're telling the truth. Lin Yi could tell from Jiang Wen's tone that this had nothing to do with him. He was right, there was no reason for him to offend Lin Yi for a few ransom money. He wouldn't take the risk unless there was something even bigger in front of him. But if it wasn't Jiang Wen, then who could it be? Lin Yi decided to find Wang Xinyan first. Little Yi got what he wanted to know. What he wanted to do now was to let Sun Jingyi lure Lin Yi out. Then he could go back and report after killing Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi had said what she needed to say. Little Yi didn't think that Lin Yi could say more. Instead of wasting time, he might as well kill Lin Yi. Otherwise, 11 had already captured Boss Bai's student. If he captured another one and Boss Bai came looking for him, it would be troublesome. Boss Bai knew him in 11. If he really knew what Elder Shenshin had done, he would definitely be very angry. It might even affect the inheritor's plan to open the Sky Class Island. That would be troublesome. So Little Yi decided to kill Lin Yi directly. At that time, Boss Bai would definitely panic and delay dealing with Lin Yi for a while. Here the matter of interrogating Han Jingjing was also solved. Then he and Little Yi would leave Donghai City quietly with the results of the battle. One had to say that his plan was very good. Okay, you can go now. Your room has been requisitioned by us. We still have some other things to do. Little Yi flicked out another steel ball, and Sun Jingyi's leg also regained feeling and she could move freely. Just, let me go? Sun Jingyi was a little confused. She didn't quite believe that Little Yi would let her go so easily. But it was no wonder. She had been in a state of hypnosis and didn't know what she said. Now that she came back to her senses, Little Yi let her go. You've said what you need to say. I also got the map of the cave. Is it a waste of food to keep you? Little Yi pointed at the map of the Wulonghout mountain range in his hand and said lightly. The purpose of his saying this was to make Sun Jingyi believe that he really wanted to let Sun Jingyi go. Chapter 2597. Luring out Lin Yi. When Little 11 went to capture Han Jingjing, he could wait, but now Little 1 couldn't. Han Jingjing's disappearance had alarmed Boss Bai, and Little 1 wanted to end this quickly. When did I draw this? Sun Jingyi looked at the map in Little 1's hand in shock. I know hypnosis. Just as Little 1 was speaking, the door rang and Little 11 walked in with Han Jingjing in tow. Little 1 frowned, glaring at Jingyi. Get the hell out of here now. I still have things to do here and I don't have time to waste with you. If you want to die, I don't mind sending you on your way. This stone. Sun Jingyi looked at the cultivation stone on the bed and hesitated. Take it and get lost. Little 1 was from that place, so he naturally didn't think much of the cultivation stone in Sun Jingyi's hands. If there was enough true chi it would be useful, but this one clearly didn't have much true chi, so it was trash. Oh. Sun Jingyi hurriedly picked up the stone, and as soon as she looked up, she saw Little 11 and Han Jingjing in her hands. Her heart skipped a beat. She really had captured Han Jingjing. However, she didn't show it on the surface, pretending not to know Han Jingjing, and quickly walked to the door. At this point, Sun Jingyi also believed that Little 1 wanted to let her go, and had other things to do. Little junior sister, you're back? Little 1 said fawningly. And it went well. How's your side? Little junior sister was very satisfied with Little 1's incomparably rough attitude towards Sun Jingyi. The more it was like this, the more it proved that he didn't like Sun Jingyi. I used hypnosis to get the answer, but the situation is a bit bad and a bit different from what we thought before. The so-called treasure is just a true chi energy stone, and a stone without much true chi. As for the treasure, it's another teleportation array. It seems that our previous thinking was wrong. Little 1 was one of the people who participated in the annihilation of Falbert's sect, and although Little 11's strength wasn't enough, he also participated in the operation that year. Although she was weak, she was a vicious woman. At a young age, she had tortured those low-level disciples in Falbert's sect to death. She took pleasure in torturing others. The junior sister asked, teleportation array? Yes, it's a teleportation portal, but it might not be usable anymore. Little 1 explained the situation of the teleportation portal to Little 11. In the end he said, I'll follow Sun Jingyi and kill the person who injured Tagan Long. You can interrogate Han Jingjing first. She's an alchemist and a cultivator. Our hypnosis is useless on her, so interrogating people like her is your forte. Hee, don't worry, eldest senior brother. Once this girl falls into my hands, she'll spit out all her secrets. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of the junior sister's mouth. Little 1 glanced at Han Jingjing's cute and delicate little face and thought to himself that it was a pity. There were almost no people that little junior sister could let go of, especially beautiful girls. They would basically be tortured to death. Little junior sister was most jealous of women who were prettier than her. However, in Little Yi's opinion, this was not a flaw. There were many cultivators with cruel minds. For example, his master, Patriarch Xianxin, had even dared to harm his eldest senior brother. In comparison, his daughter had only learned a little. Little one grew up under his master and was used to seeing crueler things. Therefore, he only felt that it was a pity that a beautiful girl like Han Jingjing was tortured to death, but he never felt that she was pitiful. Sun Jingyi was smarter. After leaving the hotel, she didn't drive her own car. Instead, she got into a taxi at the entrance of the hotel. Although it was very close to Donghai Industry University and she could walk, Sun Jingyi still took a taxi. Her purpose was to prevent Little One from following her. However, Sun Jingyi underestimated Little One, an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven's stage. Not to mention that Sun Jingyi took a taxi. Even if she took a plane, he could still lock onto her. Moreover, Sun Jingyi had already told him where Lin Yi was under hypnosis. On the way to find Han Jingjing, Lin Yi received a call from Sun Jingyi. "Jingyi, what's the matter?" Lin Yi was worried about Han Jingjing's safety and didn't want to talk too much with Sun Jingyi. Therefore, if there was nothing important, he was ready to end the call. "Lin Yi, something's wrong. The enemies we messed with in Wulanhate Mountains are chasing us all the way to Donghai, and they went to my hotel just now to interrogate me about what happened back then. I think they've hypnotized me and I've told them everything I know," Jingyi said in a panic. "They've also captured Han Jingjing. She's in my hotel room." "What? It's them?" Lin Yi was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the people who captured Han Jingjing were actually Taganlong's people. However, it was normal for them to capture Sun Jingyi. Why did they capture Han Jingjing? What relationship did Han Jingjing have with them? However, Lin Yi was even more surprised that Sun Jingyi could tip him off. "Jingyi, are you okay? Did they let you go?" "Yes, where are you?" "I'll go find you," Sun Jingyi said. "I'm here." "Forget it, I'll go find you. Wait for me at the school gate." "I'll be there immediately," Lin Yi said. "Okay, I'll tell you on the way." Sun Jingyi nodded and told Lin Yi everything in detail. Wang Xinyan, on the other hand, followed Lin Yi to the school gate. When Lin Yi saw Sun Jingyi, he finally understood what was going on, but he still didn't know why they captured Han Jingjing. Fortunately for Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi didn't know about Faubert and Grandma Sun. If Sun Jingyi knew, she might say it when she was hypnotized, and then Little Yi and the others would go and eliminate them. That would catch Lin Yi off guard. However, the strength of these people gave Lin Yi a headache. Although Lin Yi was no longer the Lin Yi who couldn't fight back when he was beaten up by the Grand Protector in the Wulanhate Mountains, the people who came this time couldn't be sky class like the Grand Protector. They were probably at the same level as Old Six or even higher. In this way, even if Lin Yi could use skills that were beyond his level, he wouldn't be able to do anything to them. The 7th form of the Frenzy 8 Trigram Palm was only equivalent to the 12th form of the Frenzy Fist, the 13th form of a normal skill. It was useless against the Sky-class late-phase peak. Chapter 2598. Old Lin was domineering. Moreover, what worried Lin Yi the most was that the Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm originated from Taganlong's 5 Elements 8 Trigram Palm. Others might not recognize it, but how could they not recognize it when they were from Taganlong's sect? Although Lin Yi had changed it beyond recognition, the person receiving the attack should be able to feel it. If they knew that Lin Yi had imitated the 5 Elements 8 Trigram Palm, would it attract unnecessary trouble? What should he do? He definitely couldn't win in a fight, and he wouldn't be able to win even if he risked his life. For a moment, Lin Yi's heart was in a mess and he felt helpless. All this time, other than the time when he became a cripple, Lin Yi's journey had been more daunting than dangerous. No matter how dangerous it was, he would grit his teeth and endure it. He had never felt this kind of fear before, but this time, Lin Yi really felt that he wasn't capable enough. At this time, Lin Yi was even a little envious of Zhong Pingliang. He wasn't very strong, but he caused trouble everywhere, and no one dared to do anything to him. There was no other reason than that he had a powerful master. If he provoked someone he couldn't afford to provoke, he would fight with his master. Seeing that he was the disciple of the everyday sect leader, Pure Yang Sky Lord, they could only let him go. Lin Yi, on the other hand, only relied on himself. If there was a background, it was just a fake one that he created to make his enemies think that there was a master behind him, and they wouldn't dare to act rashly. The rest was all fought for by himself. But now he couldn't. The other party might not care about the fake background he created, and if he fought them head-on, the one who would die in the end would definitely be Lin Yi. There were no ifs, only certainties. And if he couldn't win, he could only run. Although Lin Yi had 2 traps, according to Sun Jingyi, There were two masters this time, one male and one female. Lin Yi could use the trap to temporarily trap them. But what use would that be? If he trapped them, where would he run to? Since they could find their way to Donghai City, couldn't they go somewhere else? Lin Yi couldn't keep hiding, could he? In fact, when Lin Yi found out that the enemy was Tagan Dragon's gang, Lin Yi knew that things were going to be troublesome. It was already out of his control. If he could fight with his master at this time, wouldn't that be a good thing? Feeling helpless, Lin Yi could only call Old Man Lin. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yi would not look for Old Man Lin unless there was something he could not solve. Lil Yi, what's up? If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. I'm about to go treat a patient. Old Lin's impatient voice came from the other side of the phone. Old man, I'm in trouble. Lin Yi took a deep breath, not bothering to hide it from Xinyan. Oh? What kind of trouble have you gotten yourself into? Old Man Lin was slightly startled. Lin Yi rarely spoke to him in such a helpless tone, so Old Man Lin's tone became serious. I messed with two masters that I can't afford to mess with. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and briefly explained the situation to Old Man Lin, emphasizing that he was no match for them at all. Haha, I thought it was something serious. Old Man Lin laughed, very relaxed. What are you laughing at? I say, old man, is it funny? Can you solve it? Lin Yi was a little annoyed, but he still asked with some anticipation. Fighting with one's master is a trend now. I don't have a master to fight with. Actually, you can fight with it. It's just that. Let's not talk about this. I can't solve it with you in Donghai, but I have another way, Old Man Lin said. What way? Lin Yi quickly asked, not paying much attention to what Old Man Lin said before. After all, his master had been missing for more than 10 years, how could he fight with it? Run, of course. Take Han Jingjing and your group of wives back to West Star Mountain Village, Old Man Lin said. What do you mean? Back to West Star Mountain Village? What if they chased to West Star Mountain Village? Lin Yi was stunned, thinking to himself, what kind of move is this? Why is it exactly the same as the last time when I became a cripple? However, the situation this time was slightly different from the last time. Last time, Lin Yi only faced ordinary aristocratic families, and after Lin Yi left, they might not go looking for him again. However, the enemies this time were different. They were at least at the ancient level. From the looks of it, it was very likely that they would find West Star Mountain Village again. After all, the fact that Lin Yi's hometown was West Star Mountain Village was not too big of a secret. If they come, then so be it. Old Man Lin said indifferently, if they come, then they can't leave. Can't leave? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Although you can't fight with your master for now, but if something happens to you when you return to your hometown, even if the sky falls, this old man can still support it. Old Man Lin's voice was not loud, but it had an unquestionable domineering tone. No matter who comes looking for trouble with you, I will not let them leave. Lin Yi did not dare to believe that these words were said by Old Man Lin. However, Lin Yi suddenly remembered Old Man Lin's monstrous strength. No matter how strong he was, Old Man Lin was stronger than him. No matter how he hit him, he was fine. Could it be Old Man Lin's strength has already? Thinking of this, Lin Yi could not help but be a little excited. Old man, you can't be the legendary Heaven Path Master, right? Heaven Path? Maybe. But I am a physical master. I don't know if I count as Heaven Path, but there should be Heaven Stage, right? Old Man Lin replied indifferently, but in his heart, he was secretly a little amused. Heaven Path Master, so there was nothing more than this, but these words he did not want Lin Yi to know too early. If it was not for the fact that Lin Yi now had such strength and caused such a huge trouble, Old Man Lin would not even say these words. With a too strong backing, Lin Yi would not think of improving, and when something happened he would only think of running back home. That was not beneficial to Lin Yi's growth and development. But the current Lin Yi already had his own goals, no matter whether he had a strong backing or not, he would continue to fight and would not slack off, so this was also the reason why Old Man Lin said these words. See. Lin Yi took in a cold breath. Before, he thought that Old Man Lin was strong, much stronger than him, but at that time, Lin Yi was just a golden class master. When Lin Yi truly came into contact with the people of the cultivation world, the noble house level, the hidden level, the ancient level, along the way, Lin Yi came into contact with many stronger people. From what Lin Yi saw now, Old Man Lin's strength was probably around the same level as Jianghu Di, and his attack power was probably on par with Old Pai, because his attack power was not as strong as Air Gooden's. Chapter 2599. Were you stalling? This was the difference between Old Lin and Air Gooden. Old Lin's attack power was weaker than Air Gooden's, but it was already extremely strong. The most important thing was that he wasn't afraid of beating. If any master came, he'd be the one to beat them up. No one would be able to kill him. At this moment, Lin Yi finally let out a breath of relief. No wonder old Lin always told him to bring people back home to hide, it was because he had nothing to fear. I understand. Lin Yi took a deep breath and quickly hung up, coming up with a perfect solution. From his point of view, he'd go to the hotel first, find a chance to save Han Jingjing, and use the net to trap the two enemies. They'd be close to each other and that way he'd only need to waste one net. After that he'd bring her, Sun Jingyi, Xinyan, the Miss and Shu to run, and call everyone related to him to gather at Star West Village. Once everyone was there he'd let the news out and the two enemies would go to Star West Village and they'd never be able to return. So, it felt so good to have someone protecting him. This was the first time Lin Yi felt this way. So evil, I'm going to treat someone. Old Lin hung up the phone slowly, and then muttered in a barely audible voice, back then my brother and I seem to have missed something? What kind of sect is this? Where did they come from? Just when Lin Yi was full of confidence, ready to save Han Jingjing, he realized that he'd underestimated little Yi. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that when he met up with Sun Jingyi at the school gate, the Jade sent out a strong warning signal. Normally, the Jade would only send out a warning when there was danger that Lin Yi couldn't see, and when there was real danger. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat, and he grabbed Sun Jingyi and dashed backwards. As expected, a sharp wind swept past, and Lin Yi almost didn't dodge it. Feeling lucky, Lin Yi raised his head and looked at the black-robed man who had appeared out of nowhere. His heart trembled slightly. The person in front of him was probably Lin Yi's enemy, someone from Taganlong's sect. This person should have followed Sun Jingyi here. It seemed that the other party wanted to kill him together, so he let Sun Jingyi go. Lin Yi frowned slightly. Was he destined to waste two inescapable nets? This was Lin Yi's last life-saving treasure. If he wasted it, it would be difficult to solve if he encountered trouble on the way to escape. Thinking of this, Lin Yi decided to try his luck. He secretly began to compress the true Qi bomb. Lin Yi decided to use inescapable net only if it was not possible. If possible, he would not use it for the time being. Who are you? Why did you attack us for no reason? Lin Yi pretended to be inexplicable and looked at little Yi in shock and anger. He had to stall for time to complete the compression of the true Qi bomb. If he had known that little Yi was waiting for him at the school gate, Lin Yi would have started compressing it a long time ago. However, he had wanted to go to the hotel with Sun Jingyi to save people. He didn't expect little Yi to follow him. Lin Yi, right? I don't believe that you don't know who I am. Are you doing this to stall for time and wait for someone to save you? Little Yi said sarcastically after hearing Lin Yi's words. However, he revealed his strength at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage, which made Lin Yi give up. I don't believe that anyone can save you, so you don't have to stall for time. If your reinforcements come, they will only be courting death. Although Lin Yi had already seen little Yi's strength, when his true Qi pressure was released, Lin Yi still felt a suffocating feeling. Too strong, really too strong. He was much stronger than the Heaven stage weirdo who was also at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage. They were not on the same level at all. It seemed that the people who came out of Taganlong's sect were all monsters. He was really too strong to an unimaginable extent. Umph. Lin Yi snorted coldly. Whatever you say. I just came here, how could I know who you are? Jingyi didn't say anything. She only said that you kidnapped Han Jingjing. You know Han Jingjing? Little Yi frowned after hearing Lin Yi's words and thought to himself, not good. He'd neglected the fact that Sun Jingyi knew Han Jingjing, and that she'd told Lin Yi about it. If Lin Yi had been a little faster and told Boss Bai about it, things would have gotten a little troublesome. Therefore he had to end the battle quickly. Thinking of this, Little Yi did not give Lin Yi a chance to speak again. Instead, he suddenly crossed his hands in front of his chest and then made a very strange gesture. Finally, he put his hands together and pushed them out. A huge tornado-like true Qi vortex was pushed out from Little Yi's hands and suddenly swept towards Lin Yi. Heaven stage martial skill, twisting heaven and earth 11th form. Little Yi suddenly shouted along with the twisting vortex. In his opinion, Lin Yi was an earth stage expert. The most ordinary heaven stage martial skill could kill him. Go to hell, earth stage junior. An unprecedented pressure hit him in the face. Lin Yi frowned slightly and subconsciously pushed Sun Jingyi away. But it was too late for him to dodge. His whole body was directly swept up by the twisting vortex and flew into the sky. Then he fell heavily to the ground, making a loud sound and smashing a meter-deep pit on the ground. It was just the 11th form of Heaven Stage martial skill, the most basic Heaven Stage martial skill, but it had such great power. The people from this place were really abnormal. But fortunately, it was only the 11th form. Lin Yi used true Qi to protect his body and could barely withstand it. Although he also suffered some internal injuries, they were not very serious. Lin Yi also did not care about repairing the internal injuries in his body. Instead, he quickly compressed the true Qi bomb. This was Lin Yi's last trick. If it really did not work, he would use the inescapable net. If possible, it would be best if he could blow up the person in front of him. Jingyi, take Xinyan and leave this place first. First, Lin Yi was afraid that little Yi would hurt them. Second, he was afraid that when the true Qi bomb exploded, they would be injured. Only Lin Yi himself, so he didn't need to worry too much. Oh, okay. Sun Jingyi made a prompt decision. The two of them had formed a very good tacit understanding back in the Wulonghout Mountains. Sun Jingyi knew that Lin Yi was probably ready to use a big move. She and Wang Xinyan would only be a distraction for Lin Yi, so she took Wang Xinyan's hand and prepared to leave. Chapter 2600. The opponent was too powerful. Sun Jingyi was one of the culprits who had injured Taganlong, so Little Yi had no reason to let her go. Little Yi waved his hand and a small tornado of vital energy whirlpool attacked Sun Jingyi and Wang Xinyan. Earth-grade martial technique, first form. Lin Yi was shocked. He didn't expect Little Yi to kill people as soon as he said he would. He couldn't care less about stalling for time in the pit. He hurriedly jumped out and quickly blocked in front of Sun Jingyi and Wang Xinyan. Fortunately, Little Yi had only used the first form of the Earth-grade martial technique. In his opinion, this move was more than enough to kill Sun Jingyi and Wang Xinyan. Sun Jingyi and Wang Xinyan weren't cultivators. The two of them didn't have true energy to protect their bodies. Using the first form of the martial technique was like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. It was a bit of a waste of true energy. Sun Jingyi's cultivation method was very special. She didn't have any strength level, so Little Yi naturally wouldn't treat her as a cultivator. Wang Xinyan was just an innocent bystander. Little Yi didn't know her at all, but he didn't mind killing her together. Boom. Lin Yi took Little Yi's move head-on again. This move didn't cause any damage to Lin Yi. It only caused Lin Yi's injured area to shake a little. However, Lin Yi was also very surprised. This was clearly the first form of the Earth-grade martial technique, but it was equivalent to the third form of the Earth-grade martial technique. It was even more powerful than the Wildfire Fist. It seemed like Taganlong wasn't the only heaven-defying existence in that place. However, what puzzled Lin Yi was why he didn't cultivate Taganlong's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. If it was the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, Lin Yi could secretly learn it again. The last time he learned it wasn't too successful. Lin Yi could only activate a martial technique that increased the power of the Wildfire Fist by 5 forms. If he mastered it, could he activate a martial technique that increased the power of 10 forms? Just thinking about it, the 7th style of the Wildfire 8 trigrams palm was equivalent to the 18th style of an ordinary heaven-ranked martial technique. Even a late-stage heaven-ranked expert would find it hard to take such a blow. They would most likely be beaten half to death. However, Lin Yi was just thinking about it. He reckoned that the 5 elements 8 trigrams palms could only be used by people with a true 5-elemental constitution. Taganlong was probably one of them, but Little 1, Little 6 and Little 12 weren't. Their martial techniques were all of their own and not the 5 elements 8 trigrams palms. While Lin Yi was distracted, Sun Jingyi pulled Xinyan away. Little Yi could easily catch up to them, but his main target was Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, the one who injured Taganlong was Lin Yi, and Sun Jingyi was at most an accomplice. It was more important to take care of Lin Yi first. Otherwise, what if Lin Yi took the chance to run away while he was chasing after Sun Jingyi? It was lunch break and there weren't many students at the university entrance. Most of them were eating in the cafeteria or resting in their dorms, but there were some rich students who went out to eat. To avoid attracting attention, Little One wanted to take care of Lin Yi as quickly as possible. You're quite affectionate, aren't you? You're about to die and you still know to let those 2 girls go first. Little Yi looked at him coldly. Your ability to take hits has exceeded my expectations. An Earth class mid-phase peak actually being able to take on my 11th style of the Sky class? That's quite rare, isn't it? No wonder you could beat Taganlong. Haha, it doesn't matter how strong you are. I wouldn't be able to take the 12th or 13th style if you wanted me to, but I barely managed to take the 11th style. Lin Yi started to trick Little One. But then again, which sect are you from? You should at least let me know before I die, right? Of course I can't tell you which sect I'm from. Little One said calmly. Some things are better left unknown. Twisting heaven and earth, 12th style. Go to hell. The power equivalent to the 14th style of a normal martial art rushed towards Lin Yi. This was a power that could even kill a peak early phase Sky class master. Lin Yi didn't dare to take it head-on. He could only pause the compression of the true Qi bomb and use true Qi to protect his entire body. Lin Yi had already been injured before. Although it wasn't particularly serious, he would definitely vomit blood if he was hit again. And it would be a move even stronger than before. Fortunately, Lin Yi was prepared and had true chi to protect his body. Otherwise, if he was ambushed, he would definitely die. Boom. Lin Yi was once again swept into the sky by the huge tornado, and then fell heavily to the ground. This time the fall was even worse than before. Lin Yi directly fell 2 meters into the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood and lying motionless in the pit. So fucking powerful. Lin Yi cursed in his heart. Luckily I was mentally prepared. Otherwise, even if I didn't die, I would have fainted. Lin Yi could only quickly circulate the second level of the Art of Dragon Mastery to repair his internal injuries. He kept the true chi bomb at the side, careful not to let it explode. At this moment, time was of the essence. He had to delay as much as he could. Brat, don't play dead. Can you stand up? Little One's voice sounded again, causing Lin Yi to be shocked. He didn't expect that Little One was not stupid. He had already noticed that Lin Yi was not dead. This made it impossible for Lin Yi to continue pretending. He could only slowly climb out of the pit unwillingly. He stood up shakily. The 12th style of the Heaven class is indeed powerful. It almost killed me. Little One frowned. Looking at Lin Yi's complexion, there were no signs of him dying. He had already activated the 12th style of the Heaven class. In theory, it was equivalent to the 14th style of the Heaven class. Why wasn't Lin Yi dead yet? Why was this guy's ability to take hits so strong? Was he an Earth class mid-peak expert? Even a Heaven class early peak expert wouldn't feel good, right? You were hiding your strength? After thinking for a long time, Little One really couldn't figure out why Lin Yi was so powerful. Why was the 12th style of the Heaven class not killing him? It seemed like this was the only explanation. Hiding your strength and taking the initiative to take hits without fighting back? Have you ever seen such a stupid person? Lin Yi asked. That's true. Little One nodded. He was a little curious about Lin Yi. If it wasn't for his master's orders, he would have captured Lin Yi and studied him carefully. But Lin Yi was Boss Bai's student. Now that he had captured Han Jingjing, if he captured Lin Yi as well, it would probably attract Boss Bai's retaliation. At that time it would be troublesome. Chapter 2601. Extremely lucky. He had thought that the 11th and 12th forms would be enough to take care of Lin Yi, but they didn't, so he was angry this time. Although activating his strongest technique would weaken him a lot, and he would be in danger if another expert came at this time, only a peak late-stage Heaven class expert could hurt him, so he didn't care. He clasped his hands together and separated them, preparing to activate his strongest technique, Heaven class technique, Tornado World, 20th form. Go to hell. Fuck. Lin Yi looked at the earth-shattering vortex of true chi sweeping towards him, and immediately paled. Why didn't this guy play according to the rules? He had actually activated his strongest martial skill, the 20th form of the Heaven tier. This was equivalent to Heaven class. Oh, it should be Heaven class 22nd form. No matter how arrogant Lin Yi was, he didn't dare to be careless. Since he was going to be injured anyway, he might as well go all out. Lin Yi's true chi bomb was almost fully compressed, but Lin Yi didn't have a suitable opportunity to release it, because this true chi bomb was a move that killed 1,000 enemies and 800 of himself. After releasing it, Lin Yi definitely wouldn't have it easy. If Little One was able to resist this true chi bomb, and Lin Yi was injured by it instead, the only result would be death. But now, since the opponent had already activated his strongest technique, Lin Yi's fate of being heavily injured was already decided, then Lin Yi might as well not look for an opportunity, and directly throw the true chi bomb. No matter what, he would be injured, and now he had no choice but to go all out. Thinking of this, Lin Yi took advantage of the fact that the tornado hadn't swept him up to directly push out his hands and shouted, "True Chi Bomb, explode!" Boom. The pure True Chi Bomb hit Little One and exploded between Lin Yi and Little One. The huge explosive energy pushed Little One and Lin Yi back at the same time. However, this was a blessing in disguise for Lin Yi. The damage to Lin Yi from the 20th form of Tornado Heaven and Earth was reduced to the minimum, because the explosion of the True Chi Bomb directly blew Lin Yi out of the attack range of Tornado Heaven and Earth. In this way, Tornado Heaven and Earth only injured Lin Yi, and the rest of its power did not affect Lin Yi. Originally, Lin Yi would not have been able to dodge the strongest martial technique, but due to a freak combination of factors, Lin Yi was able to dodge it because of the explosion of the True Chi Bomb. But even so, Lin Yi was not in a good state. The power of the explosion of the True Chi Bomb had all acted on Lin Yi's body, and Lin Yi could not use True Chi to protect his body at the same time he released the True Chi Bomb. Therefore, Lin Yi was directly blown to pieces and fell heavily on the ground dozens of meters away. But even so, Lin Yi still secretly thought that he was lucky. If he had been hit by this blow from little E, he would have died without a doubt. This power was more than double that of the true Qi bomb. It was simply powerful to a certain level. Fortunately, Lin Yi made a prompt decision. Otherwise, even if he had the art of dragon mastery, it would have been useless. He would have been killed directly, and would not even have had a chance to hang on to his last breath. Boom, boom, boom. The destructive power caused by the collision of the true Qi tornado and the true Qi bomb continued, and the sound of the explosion rose and fell. The space between Lin Yi and little E was filled with flying sand and stones, and the ground at the school gate was almost lifted up. Fortunately, there were no students passing by at the moment. Otherwise, they would have been accidentally injured by the flying sand and stones. Lin Yi vomited several mouthfuls of blood in a row. He felt his life slipping away bit by bit. Although there was still a small wisp of true Qi in his body holding on, so he did not immediately faint, Lin Yi knew that he was about to be forced into the space of the jade pendant. If the injury was even a little more serious, he would directly faint. However, Lin Yi also knew that although he had barely dodged this blow, if little E attacked again, then he would definitely not be so lucky. This was completely a freak accident. He was blown away by the true Qi bomb, but next time, where could Lin Yi find a true Qi bomb? Taking advantage of the flying sand and stones flying all over the sky, Lin Yi did not dare to waste time. He quickly circulated the second level of the art of dragon mastery to heal the injuries in his body. He had to heal his injuries as soon as possible. That way he would have enough agility to dodge little Yi's next attack. Only then would he be able to successfully cast the net of heaven and earth and trap little E. Lin Yi had no other choice, he could only use his final move, the net of heaven and earth. Although Lin Yi really did not want to use it, other than that, Lin Yi had no confidence in beating little E at all. Little E was simply too strong to an unimaginable level. When Lin Yi and Zhao Qikuan first met the Sky-class monster in the cave, although the monster was also a Sky-class late-phase peak, he was definitely not as strong as little E. And so, Lin Yi did not need to look at Lin Yi at all. His intuition told him that his true Qi bomb should not have killed little E, not even heavily injured him. In actuality, Lin Yi's intuition was right, little E was also sent flying by the powerful force of the true Qi bomb. The violent shock made him spit out a mouthful of blood, but it was only a slight external injury. There were no internal injuries at all. Even so, little Yi's face showed an expression of shock. He muttered in disbelief, "How is this possible? A mere Earth-class mid-phase peak could actually make me spit out blood? How is this possible? Could it be that he knew he was going to die, so he self-destructed at the last moment?" Self-destruction was an ultimate move that a practitioner would use when forced to fight to the death with the enemy. This secret technique was not difficult to learn, and there was a specific chant for it. Many practitioners knew it, so it was not a secret. That was why little E thought that Lin Yi had used this move. But he could not see what was happening on Lin Yi's side. The power of Lin Yi's self-destruction, and the 20th Heaven-class skill, Tornado, had combined to create a sandstorm in front of little E. It was impossible for him to see Lin Yi's situation clearly. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was taking advantage of this time to recover from the injuries caused by the true Qi bomb and tornado. Sun Jingyi and Wang Xinyan ran into the school, panting heavily. Not long after, they heard a loud explosion, followed by a series of explosions. Turning their heads, they saw a sandstorm in front of the school gate. This gave Sun Jingyi and Xinyan a fright. What was wrong with Lin Yi? Was he all right? As worried as they were, they did not dare go over to see what was going on. They were at a loss when Xinyan's phone rang. Chapter 26:02. Chapter 26:12. Vicious little sister. She hesitated, but still picked it up. Xinyan was a good student, and it was natural for her to report to the school when she ran into trouble. "Mr. Bai? Xinyan, how's Lin Yi? Did anything happen?" After Lin Yi left, the white boss felt uneasy as if something wasn't right. He waited for a while, but Lin Yi didn't contact him, so he contacted Xinyan. After all, Lin Yi went to look for Xinyan. "Mr. Bai, Lin Yi's fighting with someone right in front of the school. That bad guy is using a very powerful martial art, I think it's called Twister World or something, it's like a tornado." Xinyan said worriedly, "What should we do? Lin Yi doesn't seem to be a match for him," and he fell to the ground. "What? Twister World?" The white boss stood up abruptly, his eyes narrowed and his gaze sharpened. Could it be them? Causing trouble in front of his school, kidnapping his students and even injuring Lin Yi, did they think he didn't exist? "Yes, I think so." Xinyan nodded, not understanding why the boss would ask this. She wanted to know how to help Lin Yi. Out of all the people she knew, Lin Yi was the strongest. If even Lin Yi wasn't a match, then it didn't matter if it was House Pai, House Han, or even Wu Qintian. I'll be there right away. The white boss voice turned cold and angry. Don't worry, I have a plan. All right, thank you, Mr. Bai. Xinyan said, relieved to hear that Boss Bai had a solution. What are you thanking me for? You're all my students, of course I'll help you. The white boss ran out of the office. One had to say he was quite fast despite his age. At the same time in the hotel, 11 was interrogating Han Jingjing about Zhang Liju's notes. Han Jingjing was brought to the hotel room. Suddenly, a basin of cold water was poured over her. Han Jingjing woke up abruptly and looked at the unfamiliar scene in front of her. Where is this? Han Jingjing looked at the hotel room curiously. She only remembered that she was going to the cafeteria with Wang Xinyan, but she didn't remember anything else. Han Jingjing, right? A cold and somewhat hoarse female voice rang out, revealing a bone-piercing chill. Haven't you noticed that you've been kidnapped? Kidnapping? Who are you? Why did you kidnap Jingjing? Han Jingjing turned around and looked innocently at the woman in black, who was the 11th, with her large, watery eyes. Alright, stop acting cute. This trick doesn't work on me. Little 11 frowned and thought to himself that it was a good thing he didn't let Little E interrogate her. This girl sure knew how to disguise herself. Even after being caught, she was still acting cute. You're an alchemist, right? What is an alchemist? Is it delicious? Han Jingjing asked curiously. Little E, don't act cute in front of me. I don't fall for it. Little 11 interrupted Han Jingjing coldly. If you don't want to suffer, then tell me the truth. But I really don't know what an alchemist is. Han Jingjing said innocently. Little Jian, are you looking for a beating? Little 11 raised his hand. I'll give you one last chance. If you talk nonsense with me again, I'll kill you. Oh, if someone who knows how to refine pills is an alchemist, then I am one. Han Jingjing blinked her eyes and said. Humph, you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Little 11 snorted and continued to ask, who did you learn alchemy from? My alchemy? I learned it from Right Coiling Tiger. Han Jingjing thought about it and said, my cauldron and whatnot were all given to me by him. Slap. Slap. Two crisp sounds rang out. Little 11 finally lost his patience and slapped Han Jingjing's face twice. Immediately Han Jingjing's left and right cheeks turned red. Little 11 was an expert at the peak of the early phase of heaven rank. How could Han Jingjing withstand two slaps from him? It hurts. Han Jingjing looked at Little 11 with a wronged expression. Her big watery eyes were about to shed tears. Why did you hit Jingjing? Hit you? If you don't be honest, I'll kill you. Little 11's face was ferocious. A cruel expression flashed across his face. I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm best at messing with people. If I transmigrate, I'll be the head of the Imperial Secret Service. What's the Imperial Secret Service? Han Jingjing asked doubtfully. Little Jin, I know you want to stall for time and wait for someone to save you. But I'm not afraid to tell you that there's really no one who can save you. Little 11 said calmly. Since you don't want to tell me, then I'll play with you a little more ruthlessly. Little 11's hand shook slightly and a box of silver needles fell into her hand. She nimbly took out a silver needle from the box and stabbed it into Han Jingjing's shoulder blade. Ah! Han Jingjing screamed. I'll tell you, what do you want to know? Humph, look at your delicate little face. You're really popular with men. But what I hate the most are girls who are prettier than me. Little 11 said coldly, especially for pretty girls like you who know how to act cute. I like to poke at your face until your skin is broken. Now it's your shoulder blade. Next time it'll be your face. I'll ask you again. Who did you learn alchemy from? I'll tell you the truth. It was Teacher Bai who gave me an introductory note on alchemy, so I followed it and learned it right away. Han Jingjing grimaced in pain and said, Can you remove the silver needles? Jingjing is in so much pain. Remove? Sure. Little 11's mouth flashed a trace of viciousness. She stuck her hand on the end of the silver needles and directly imbued innate qi into the silver needles. Only to hear a ka-ba sound, Han Jingjing's right shoulder blade was directly crushed by the true qi. Ah! Han Jingjing screamed in pain. Beads of sweat flowed down her forehead. You're a heaven stage master. You can actually imbue innate qi into a weapon. That's right. You still have some eyes. I'm indeed a heaven stage master. This silver needle is my heaven stage weapon. Little 11 said lightly, my heaven-grade godly weapon is called the 9 Fushi needles. Although the 9 Fushi needles in my hand is a replica of a godly weapon, but when combined with a martial art chant, even a tiny needle can take your life. Chapter 2603. Girl, don't change the topic. I'll ask you one last time, who did you learn your refinement from? 11 almost got sidetracked by Han Jingjing. I told you, it's Tiger, right? Han Jingjing said. It seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know what I'm capable of. 11's needle shot out again, and this time, it pierced into Han Jingjing's abdomen. 11 then looked at Han Jingjing playfully. I don't want to bullshit with you. Do you have Zhang Liju's notes? Give me a copy and I won't kill you, but if you keep going around in circles, I'll just shake my hand and I'll make sure you can't be a woman anymore. Han Jingjing was a little scared now, and a flash of fear flashed in her eyes. 11's needle was right at a girl's reproductive part. If it exploded like before, Han Jingjing would really be like she said, she wouldn't be able to be a woman anymore. If I tell you, will you let me go? However, Han Jingjing was a very calm and intelligent person. She could tell from little 11's expression and tone that she had no intention of letting him go. I'm afraid you'll kill me if I tell you, right? That's not for sure. Maybe I'll be in a good mood? Then I'll let you go. 11 said faintly. Besides, being tortured to death and dying a quick death are two completely different ways to die. I'm not afraid to tell you that I already know a lot of things, and I know that you know how to concoct elixirs, and that your success rate is very high. You can make a lot of high-quality second-level elixirs in a short period of time. You don't have to hide it from me. If I didn't know all this, I wouldn't be asking you. So even if you want to lie to me, there's no way. I'm a refiner and I can tell if you're lying or not. Alright, I'll tell you. Actually, Professor Bai gave me a copy of his master's notes, and I learned according to it. Han Jingjing sighed. You're messing with me? Little 11's expression hardened, and the hand holding the end of the silver needle moved slightly. Han Jingjing screamed again, and a mouthful of blood sprayed directly onto little 11's face. Ah! Han Jingjing's eyes flashed with pain and hopelessness, but she promised Lin Yi that she wouldn't tell anyone about Zhang Liju's notes. Plus, even if he did, so what if it was Zhang Liju's notes? According to the alchemy method, although it could improve the quality of the elixir, it couldn't improve the speed and success rate of alchemy. Even if he cultivated according to it, it was absolutely impossible to refine so many elixir with excellent quality in a short period of time. Since little 11 was an alchemist, even if he told her, she would be able to tell that it was impossible to achieve this effect by concocting the elixir according to the method. If she continued to press him, she would definitely expose Lin Yi's secret. Lin Yi could help her recover her strength and qi, and he could also help her concoct elixirs together. But if she told Lin Yi about these things, it would only harm him. At this moment, Han Jingjing didn't know that Lin Yi was also little 11's target, and so in order to protect Lin Yi, she had to grit her teeth and hold on. Stupid bitch, you dare to spit on me? Little 11 flew up and kicked Han Jingjing's chest, sending her flying towards the wall. Ah! Han Jingjing screamed once more. She felt as if her chest was being kicked and tears almost came out of her eyes. She laid on the ground and didn't even have the strength to get up. Although she was also an earth-class practitioner, it was mainly used for alchemy. She couldn't heal herself and she couldn't use qi to protect her body. But then again, in front of a sky-class early-phase peak like little 11, the qi protection of an earth class didn't have much use. Are you going to tell me? Tell me Zhang Liju's notes and I'll give you a quick death, or I'll torture you to death. Little 11 was really a little anxious. This Han Jingjing was so stubborn. She stepped on Han Jingjing's finger, and with a forceful stomp on the ground, Han Jingjing's finger was crushed into a bloody mess. I'll let you refine pills, I'll cripple your hand. The fingers were connected to the heart, and Han Jingjing's body suddenly trembled, and she spat out another mouthful of black blood. Are you going to tell me? Are you going to tell me or not? Seeing that Han Jingjing did not speak, little 11 stomped on Han Jingjing's other hand and did the same thing, crushing Han Jingjing's fingers into a bloody mess. I'll tell you. Mr. Bai is Zhang Liju's disciple. His notes are Zhang Liju's notes? Alchemist's notes? Han Jingjing stuttered weakly. You're asking for it. Little 11 was furious. She didn't think that after torturing Han Jingjing like this, she still wouldn't tell her. She was so angry that she kicked Han Jingjing's crotch. Since you're not going to tell me, I'll kill you and go to your place to look for it. I don't believe that you didn't memorize it. Oh. Han Jingjing couldn't feel the pain anymore. She felt that her eyelids were heavy, and her consciousness was getting blurry. Linny bro, Jingjing is going to die. I'm sorry, Jingjing can't concoct pills for you anymore. This woman is so hateful. Not only did she cripple Jingjing's hands, she can't let Jingjing concoct pills anymore. And she can't let Jingjing be Lin Yi bro's girlfriend. Han Jingjing was in a daze, and she thought about Lin Yi and the happy time she had in Donghai City these few months. However, it was all like an illusion, and she finally stopped at Little 11's hideous face. You can't find it? Jingjing is very smart, she memorized it all. Han Jingjing felt like she was dying, and her words suddenly became sharp. But Jingjing won't give it to you, Jingjing is going to die soon. Jingjing will wait for you, and after a few years, you can come and accompany Jingjing. Han Jingjing believed that in the short term, perhaps Lin Yi wouldn't be able to avenge her, but when Lin Yi advanced to Sky Class, he would be able to kill this evil woman easily. Little bitch, what did you say? Little 11 heard Han Jingjing say that she would wait for her, and he was furious. He was about to kick her again, but he saw that Han Jingjing was already on the verge of death, and her qi was rapidly flowing out of her body. This was the sign of a practitioner dying, and Little 11 frowned. Chapter 2604. If Han Jingjing really didn't have a backup at home, then wouldn't Little 11's trip be in vain? Although killing a beautiful girl who was prettier than herself was a very satisfying thing, she didn't get any benefits at all. After hesitating for a while, Little 11 took out a small box from his arms, opened it, and took out a great rejuvenation pill from it. However, he hesitated for a moment, and replaced it with a small rejuvenation pill, and then directly stuffed it into Han Jingjing's mouth. At present, the small rejuvenation pill was completely useless for Han Jingjing's injury. It was just hanging on for a while longer. With her current injury, it was estimated that even a great rejuvenation pill would not be able to cure it. Han Jingjing's consciousness was originally blurred, but suddenly she felt that Little 11 had fed her something, and then some warmth came from all over her body. Following that, the injury on her body became even more painful. Although she was temporarily awake, the pain in her body caused Han Jingjing's teeth to tremble. Small rejuvenation pill, Han Jingjing was an alchemist, so she could naturally feel what Little 11 had fed her. The torture has just begun. There will be more powerful ones next. Little 11 smiled cruelly, and took out a very strange knife from nowhere. It was a sharp blade, and there were many small blades that looked like centipede antennae. Then he said to Han Jingjing, "This knife, it seems that you know what it is for, right? If I were to slash your tender face once, that would be quite pleasurable. Even if it is a miracle pill, it can't cure this kind of wound on your face. TSK, you will look very hideous when you die. Isn't it very interesting?" Oh. Han Jingjing looked at the knife in Little 11's hand, and a trace of fear flashed in her eyes. Women love to look beautiful, and Han Jingjing was no exception. Although she knew that she couldn't escape death this time, she also wanted to show her most beautiful side to Lin Yi before she died. She didn't expect this woman to be so vicious, and actually changed her mind to play tricks on her. Moreover, the means were more and more ruthless. Han Jingjing felt that this person was psychologically perverted. Shwa! With a flick of Little 11's wrist, the fancy knife slashed across Han Jingjing's face. Immediately, Han Jingjing's delicate right cheek became a bloody mess. The skin on her cheek was flipped open and blood flowed freely. It was a very frightening sight. "Are you going to tell me or not?" 11th asked coldly. "Jingjing is going to die of pain." Han Jingjing shouted loudly. She wanted to quickly release the last bit of innate qi in her body so that she could die as soon as possible. This was because the person in front of her was too abnormal. Han Jingjing could no longer stand it. "Die. You won't die so easily after taking the small rejuvenation pill." The 11th snorted and said, "If you want to suffer less pain, then tell me the truth." "Oh." Han Jingjing responded weakly. "You can't talk, can you?" Little 11 was furious. She had interrogated many people, but this was the first time she had seen someone as stubborn as Han Jingjing. "What are you hiding?" Zhang Liju's elixir refiner's notes: "You wouldn't bring it with you when you were alive, and you wouldn't bring it with you when you were going to die. What was the point of keeping it? Why not say it and suffer less pain? Why not? The sooner you die, the sooner you can be reincarnated. You're feeling great, aren't you?" Oh. Han Jingjing closed her eyes. "You." The 11th raised the fancy knife in her hand again. At the entrance of Donghai Industry University, the flying sand and stones gradually lessened. The damage caused by the huge power was still very great. A gully that was more than 10 meters deep was formed between Lin Yi and Little One. Fortunately, the school entrance was an open space. Otherwise, if there were any buildings, they would have collapsed. "You're not dead?" Little One looked at Lin Yi in shock. He couldn't believe that Lin Yi could survive his Heaven Tier 20th style. Activating the Heaven Tier 20th style, even for a cultivator with Little One's strength, he had consumed nearly half of his physical strength and innate qi. In addition to the two skills he had activated before, it would be a little difficult for him to activate the Heaven Tier 20th style at this moment. Although Little One had also felt the fluctuations of innate chi on the other side, he didn't think that it was Lin Yi's innate chi fluctuations. After all, after a cultivator released a martial skill, it would cause a very strong innate chi fluctuation, and the aftershock would last for a long time. Therefore, after Little One recovered from his shock, his expression became extremely ugly. If Lin Yi didn't die, how could he kill Lin Yi? Did he have to use his weapon? Although Little One's divine weapon was very powerful, he had to inject innate chi into it. He had already consumed a lot of innate chi. If he used his weapon again, he might not be able to unleash greater power. Moreover, Lin Yi didn't seem to have self-destructed. Then what was his innate chi explosion move? In fact, Little One was overthinking. He didn't see Lin Yi being sent flying by the innate chi bomb, so he thought that Lin Yi had miraculously survived his martial skill. He's not dead, so I think it's time for us to talk. Lin Yi put his hands in his trouser pockets and grabbed the inescapable net with his right hand, ready to release it at any time. However, Lin Yi really wanted to find out which sect Little One and Taganlong belonged to. This way, even if Lin Yi caught them, he could still take revenge in the future. Or, at that time, he could release the news that he had gone to West Star Mountain Village to seek refuge to them. Talk about what? Little One frowned, thinking about why Lin Yi didn't die. It shouldn't be. The 12th form of Tornado Heaven and Earth had made Lin Yi vomit blood. Now Lin Yi had been hit by the 20th form, but he seemed to be fine. He looked very energetic, which made Little One extremely puzzled. Which sect are you from? Where's Taganlong? Why is his martial skill more powerful than yours? Lin Yi asked in one breath. Why are you asking so many questions? Little One frowned. I can only tell you that we are very powerful. If you provoke us, only death awaits you. Oh, that's right, you were just like me just now. You were blasted far away, right? Little One looked at Lin Yi and suddenly realized that Lin Yi was very far away from him. In that case, Lin Yi wasn't at the point where the martial skill was activated. It seemed that he had used that special explosive martial skill to escape far away. When Lin Yi heard Little One's question, he felt that something was wrong. Not good. This person seemed to have guessed why he wasn't killed by the 20th form of the Heaven Grade martial skill, Tornado Heaven and Earth. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to ask anything. He could only use the inescapable net. Chapter 2605. Heaven Grade martial skill, Tornado World, 15th style. Brat you. Little E sneered, but his laughter suddenly stopped. He forcefully held back the martial skill that he had activated halfway. His face flushed red and he almost self-destructed. Little E, you're very capable. Are you trying to kill me, the sect leader martial uncle? Boss Bai suddenly stood in front of Lin Yi, looked at Little E coldly and questioned him sternly. This great uncle master. Little E broke out in a cold sweat. The person in front of him was his genuine great uncle master. Furthermore, he was the sect leader. Even if he had become a cripple, even if he had not contacted the sect, it did not hinder his deterrence. You still know that I'm martial uncle? Boss Bai snorted in dissatisfaction. Did Shenchen send you? It turned out that Boss Bai was actually Patriarch Shen, the senior brother that Patriarch Shenchen and Patriarch Xuanzhen mentioned. Yes, martial uncle. Little E smiled bitterly. Martial uncle, please don't interfere in this matter. This Lin Yi is the culprit who crippled Taganlong. You also know that Taganlong is Master's most important and proud grand disciple. So this disciple is here on Master's orders to take revenge. Why? Is Xuanzhen's words more useful than mine? Boss Bai said coldly. His grand disciple is important, but my disciple is not? Lin Yi is my disciple. I'll say it here today. I'll protect this disciple. If you dare to touch him, you'll have to touch me first. This? Little E was a little helpless. He knew that things had become difficult now that Boss Bai had interfered. He was not afraid of Boss Bai's identity as the sect leader martial uncle, but he was afraid that if Boss Bai was angry, he would not cooperate with the future inheritor to start the Heavenly Islands plan and cultivate a wood element inheritor. That would be big trouble. It should be known that among the inheritors of the 5 elements and the other 2 elements of the water element, except for the inheritors of the wood element, the other inheritors all had their own inheritance land and inheritance method. Only the inheritors of the wood element had a special inheritance method, which was to slowly communicate with the elixirs and obtain the inheritance. Only Elder Bai knew how to communicate with spiritual herbs. Even Patriarch Shenzhen did not know how to do so. This was also the reason why Boss Bai's elixir refinement skills were unparalleled back in the day, right up to Master Zhang Liju. Although Boss Bai was crippled, he was still not someone to be messed with. Otherwise, according to Patriarch Xuanqin's personality, he would have snatched his sect leader ring and told him to scram. Would he still respect him so much? However, Boss Bai only had the empty title of leader. The specific affairs of the sect were still taken care of by Elder Xianqin. Tell Xianqin that if he dares to hurt my disciple again, all the plans will be cancelled. Boss Bai said calmly with unparalleled firmness and majesty. Yes, martial uncle sect leader. Little E was a little helpless. Although they had secretly treated Patriarch Xianqin as their master, that was only when no one else dared to think or say that. In front of Boss Bai he had to be respectful. Where's Han Jingjing? Let her go or there's nothing to talk about. Boss Bai asked again. Han Jingjing. Little One's expression changed instantly. Only then did he remember about Han Jingjing. With Boss Bai's interference, the nature of this matter had become completely different. He didn't know if Han Jingjing was dead or not. Little One was quite clear about Little 11's personality and methods. Not only was Han Jingjing tortured beyond recognition, it was also possible that she was already dead. Therefore Little One did not dare to delay and quickly dialed Little 11's number. He had to tell Little 11 to stop immediately. Otherwise, if Han Jingjing died, it would affect the plan that had lasted for thousands of years. Even if she was the daughter of Elder Xianqin, she would not be able to bear the responsibility. Hello. Senior brother, are you done on your side? As Little 11 answered the phone, he used a knife to scratch Han Jingjing's face before asking. Han Jingjing is Uncle Master Sect Leader's disciple, let her go. Otherwise, if she angers Uncle Master Sect Leader, that plan will be affected. Master should understand. Little One could only hint to Little 11. What? Boss Bai is involved? Little 11 was not respectful to Boss Bai at all on the other side of the phone. This old fart is quite a busybody. But Han Jingjing is not dead now and she's about to die. Even the divine doctor can't save her. Han Jingjing is fine. That's good. Let her go now. Let's leave here. Little One's heart skipped a beat and he almost exploded from fright. Han Jingjing was about to die? What should he do? It was better to escape first. When Han Jingjing died in the hands of Boss Bai, it would have nothing to do with them. Anyway, Han Jingjing would be alive when they let her go. Okay, I got it. I'll wait for you at the highway exit. Little 11 sighed and glared at Han Jingjing unwillingly. He quickly hung up the phone and left the hotel room. Han Jingjing is in the Shuashang Hotel in the room that Sun Jingyi stayed in. Little One hung up the phone and turned to Lin Yi. You can go find her directly. Lin Yi did not think so much. Seeing that Sun Jingyi was fine, he did not expect that something would happen to Han Jingjing. Also, seeing that Little One was afraid of Boss Bai, he should not be lying, so he nodded and said, I got it. Martial Uncle Sect Leader, then I'll take my leave. Little One cupped his fists, then turned around and left quickly without any hesitation. Teacher Bai Yu? Lin Yi could not understand Boss Bai. Who was he? He was actually from the same sect as Tagunlong Little One, and the others, and was their martial uncle sect leader. Let's go see Han Jingjing first. Boss Bai waved his hand. We'll talk about this later. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Although he had thousands of questions in his mind, he still quickly ran in the direction of the Shuashang Hotel. Boss Bai did not go with Lin Yi because he had to deal with the aftermath first. Moreover, he had already let out his words. At least before the plan was successfully implemented, Lin Yi and Han Jingjing were safe. Whether Little One and Patriarch Xianqin were willing or not, they had to take a step back. Chapter 2606. A call from Xuanqin because they were too far away, he didn't have to worry about them hearing anything. However, Boss Bai still had to repair the big pit as soon as possible, otherwise, it would affect the normal passage of the students. In fact, the battle between Lin Yi and Xiao Yi only lasted 10 to 20 minutes, so it didn't attract too much attention. Boss Bai was worrying too much. The onlookers only saw the flying sand and stones and the words that Lin Yi said to Xiao Yi and Boss Bai at the end. They didn't know what happened before. Xiao Yi and Xiao 11 were both cultivators, so they soon met at the exit of the East Ocean City Expressway. Seeing that Xiao 11 had also arrived, Xiao Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Junior sister, Boss Bai didn't go to trouble you, right? He's just a cripple. How could he catch up to me? I left after I answered your call. Xiao 11 curled his lips, but he didn't care about Boss Bai at all. That's only natural. However, is Han Jingjing alright? Xiao Yi was concerned about whether Han Jingjing could die. If she really died and Boss Bai stopped that big plan, then everything would be over. Her face was cut by me, her arms and shoulders were destroyed by me, her boobs were broken by me, and her uterus was blown up by me. Little 11 said casually, she will probably die when Boss Bai arrives. After hearing this, Xiao Yi's mouth couldn't help but twitch. His junior sister was really too vicious. However, he didn't sympathize with Han Jingjing. In his eyes, Han Jingjing's life and death didn't matter. The main thing was the future Heaven Stage Island plan. He didn't know if Boss Bai cared about this disciple of his, Han Jingjing. Now it seemed that Boss Bai cared about Lin Yi quite a lot. Han Jingjing was still unknown. Thinking of this, Xiao Yi sighed helplessly and said, "This matter is already out of our control. We must report it to Master and ask him to make a decision." All right. Xiao 11 didn't think much of it. She was just an ordinary girl. She was just a little beautiful. She died, then so be it. Could she be Boss Bai's lover? Xiao Yi knew the importance of this matter, so he called his master, Patriarch Shen immediately. "Xiao Yi? How did things go? Did it go well?" Patriarch Mysterious Sky saw that it was Little One's call, so he picked it up and asked, "Master, there's a problem." Boss Bai intervened. Little One said in a heavy tone helplessly. "What? Boss Bai showed up? What was going on? Tell me in detail." Patriarch Dark Heaven was shocked and quickly asked. This is what happened. Little E did not dare to hide anything. He told Patriarch Shenshin everything that had happened in detail. Patriarch Shenshin fell into deep thought after listening to Little Yi's narration. "According to what you said, you and Little E are not to be blamed for this matter. There's nothing wrong with what you did. It's mainly because Boss Bai interfered. Things are a little troublesome. I didn't expect this Lin Yi to be his disciple. Yeah, that's not important right now. The main thing is that junior sister has crippled Han Jingjing. She's probably going to die soon. Even a great recover pill might not be able to save her." Little One said worriedly. Patriarch Black Earth hesitated for a moment before ordering, "Sai, how about this? I'll personally call Shintian and talk to him about these things. If it really doesn't work, I'll admit my mistake first. Both of you come back immediately. Don't delay." He could actually contact Boss Bai directly. However, Patriarch Black Earth lied to Patriarch Black True, saying that Boss Bai was focused on teaching and did not want to be disturbed, so he could not contact Patriarch Black True and Boss Bai directly. Patriarch Black True was simple-minded, but he was not as cunning as Patriarch Black Earth. In fact, Patriarch Black Earth was afraid that Shintian would tell the truth about what happened back then, so he did not dare to let Patriarch Black True and Shintian contact each other personally. He deliberately said that he could not contact them and did not want to be disturbed. Fortunately, Patriarch Black True did not care about this. If it was possible, Patriarch Black Earth would have killed Patriarch Black Heaven a long time ago. However, for the future plan of Heavenly Island, he had to keep Patriarch Black Heaven alive. "Yes, Master." Little One hurriedly responded, got in the car with Little 11, and drove quickly in the direction of that place. As for Patriarch Black Earth, he dialed Patriarch Black Heaven's number, which was Boss Bai's number. He had not called this number for a long time. He had only sent people to secretly monitor Boss Bai's every move. This time he was still a little nervous in his heart. Boss Bai had just found an engineering team to repair the big pit in front of the school gate. He hurriedly rushed to the Shuashang Hotel with Sun Jingyi and Wang Xinyan to find Lin Yi and Han Jingjing. At this time his phone rang. Boss Bai thought it was Lin Yi calling, so he directly picked it up. "Hello? Hello." Patriarch Shenshin was a little silent and scared when he heard this familiar voice. After all, he was the one who had secretly caused Boss Bai to be injured back then. He believed that Boss Bai was also well aware of it. Therefore, although he was very vicious when he talked to Boss Bai face to face, he still felt very emotional. "Hello? Who is it?" Boss Bai frowned. There was no sound on the other side of the phone, and he thought it was a wrong number. "If there's nothing else, I'll hang up." "Eldest senior brother, it's me." Patriarch Black Earth heard that Boss Bai was about to hang up and quickly spoke. "Xianqin?" Boss Bai was no stranger to Xuanqin's voice, so he naturally recognized his voice immediately. For a moment, his heart was full of emotions. For this junior brother who had once harmed him, Boss Bai had very complicated feelings. Although he was very kind-hearted, he was not a good person. If it weren't for the fact that Master had taught them to be harmonious when he was still alive, Boss Bai probably wouldn't have been running around for the affairs of the sect all these years. But Boss Bai didn't. He still regarded himself as the leader of that place, and was still running around for that big plan in the future, looking for and training successors. "It's me, eldest senior brother. I'm sorry, I didn't know that Lin Yi and Han Jingjing are your disciples. If I have offended you, please forgive me," Xianqin said carefully. "Offended? You still know to call me eldest senior brother? Boss Bai sneered and snorted. Don't you know that they are my disciples? Eldest senior brother, you should know the importance of Tag Long. He was crippled by Lin Yi, and now he has become a useless person. Patriarch Black Earth said after a moment of silence. Chapter 2607. Isn't it to increase the success rate? 100 years ago, because there was no medium, that plan failed. Therefore, in order to be safe, I had to find a medium. Patriarch Xianxin said, forget it, let's not talk about this. How about we just forget about it? In the future, I won't send anyone to cause trouble for Lin Yi. We'll proceed as planned. Isn't the Tagan dragon crippled? Boss Bai asked back. I still have a spy, said Patriarch Xianxin. So, you still have a trick up your sleeve. Boss Bai said lightly, in that case, forget it. However, the successor of the wood element is my disciple, and I will not allow anything to happen between her and the medium. You should know what I mean. I'm afraid she won't cooperate wholeheartedly, Patriarch Black Earth said carefully. I will talk to her. Boss Bai said, you don't have a choice. Accept it or not. Alright, I accept. Patriarch Xianxin promised, but he sneered in his heart. When the inheritor comes, it won't be up to you anymore. Old fart, it will be your time of death. And that disciple of yours called Lin Yi, they must all die. Boss Bai did not say anything more. He hung up the phone and continued to go to the Shuashang Hotel. Lin Yi did not have time to heal the remaining injuries in his body, nor did he recover his physical strength and true qi. He quickly ran to Sun Jingyi's room in Shuashang Hotel. The room door was locked, but this was not a problem for Lin Yi. Lin Yi took out a silver needle and opened the door lock. He pushed the door in and the thick smell of blood hit him. When Lin Yi saw Han Jingjing on the ground, his heart suddenly trembled. Was this Han Jingjing? Or rather, was he a human? Chapter 2608. Although he didn't check Han Jingjing's injuries carefully, he could tell from her appearance that it couldn't be any worse. Boss Bai didn't expect Little 11 to be so cruel, and he was shaking with anger. Originally, he had tolerated Patriarch Xianxin out of consideration for the fact that Patriarch Xianxin was his junior brother and out of consideration for his master's past friendship. But today he could no longer tolerate it. How could these people be so cruel? To treat a little girl like this? What a beast. Xianxin, Little 11, and Boss Bai took a deep breath, and at the same time he was angry at himself for not fighting hard enough. If he had been cruel back then and kicked Xianxin out of the sect, today's incident wouldn't have happened. But now, he had become a useless person, and it was impossible for him to wrestle with Xianxin. What's the situation? Boss Bai wanted to call Xianxin several times to cancel the plan, but after hesitating for a while he finally gave up. This was the wish of his master for generations, and he couldn't destroy it because of Xuanxin's selfishness. However, there was an irrecoverable crack in the relationship between him and Xianxin. I'm healing her. Mr. Bai, please guard the door for me and don't let anyone disturb me. Lin Yi said. Okay. Boss Bai nodded quickly. Although he didn't know if Lin Yi could save Han Jingjing, he still nodded and said, then shall we wait at the door? Okay. Lin Yi of course couldn't ask for more. He didn't want Boss Bai to know that he used the art of dragon mastery to heal Han Jingjing. It wasn't that he didn't trust Boss Bai, but that Boss Bai was in the same sect with Little 1 and Little 10. Before Lin Yi figured out the situation, he couldn't expose too much about himself. What happened in the Wulong Haut Mountains made Lin Yi very regretful. He was too careless and thought that Taganlong was just a foreign family, and he didn't think that they would chase him all the way to East Ocean City. So, he made up the name of Zhang Naipeo, and he didn't think that they would still find him. From the looks of it, he had to be more careful in the future. He couldn't be careless at all. After Boss Bai, Sun Jingyi, and Wang Xinyan left, Lin Yi continued healing Han Jingjing's wounds. Han Jingjing felt waves of warmth radiating from her body, a very comfortable and blissful feeling. Was this the so-called blissful feeling before death? Han Jingjing felt that her injuries seemed to be slowly improving, but was this possible? This is impossible, absolutely impossible. How could her injuries heal after being hugged by Lin Yi? It was impossible. Even if the silver needles were inserted into her body, it was impossible. However, Han Jingjing found that something was wrong. She seemed to be getting better. Also, he was more energetic than before. Brother Lin Yi? Jingjing isn't dead? Han Jingjing opened her eyes again. Although her big watery eyes were still stained with blood, they were much more spirited than before. Of course she's not dead. Lin Yi saw that Han Jingjing was finally getting better. She had passed the most dangerous stage and he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Now, as long as there were no accidents, Han Jingjing would get better. The damaged organs and parts of the body could be slowly repaired by the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi was very glad that he knew the art of dragon mastery. Otherwise, even if Han Jingjing recovered, she would still be a cripple. She would probably feel that she was better off dead than alive. Brother Lin Yi, you're amazing. Jingjing seems to be getting better? Han Jingjing was surprised and happy. She opened her eyes wide and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. She didn't think that she could really come back to life. Hee, don't talk. Close your eyes and you'll be fine in a while. Lin Yi saw that Han Jingjing was so optimistic and relaxed. He was most afraid that this matter would bring some shadow to Han Jingjing's heart, but now it seemed that he was worrying too much. Yes. Brother Lin Yi is really omnipotent. Jingjing admires you so much. Han Jingjing nodded and obediently closed her eyes. Her mouth was full of happiness because she found that Lin Yi could actually repair the damaged parts of her body. Her hands had already recovered, and they looked completely different from the bloody mess just now. Her two small hands were as delicate as a newborn baby. Since her hands could be recovered, the other parts of her body should be able to recover as well. Han Jingjing didn't have to worry anymore. Lin Yi quickly helped Han Jingjing recover from her injuries, while Boss Bai, Wang Xinyan, and Sun Jingyi waited anxiously outside the room. Even though Sun Jingyi and Wang Xinyan knew that Lin Yi would definitely have a way, they couldn't help but be a little nervous. Although Sun Jingyi wasn't familiar with Han Jingjing and had only seen her once or twice, she knew that she was a girl that Lin Yi valued a lot. She was also very worried, but she didn't know why little 11 would kill her. Jingyi, on the other hand, was fine. The afternoon passed quickly. Han Jingjing's injuries were so serious that Lin Yi had to spend the afternoon healing Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing was really careless and actually fell asleep in Lin Yi's arms. Therefore, after Lin Yi finished healing Han Jingjing, he began to heal himself and restore his physical strength. It wasn't until the evening that Lin Yi finished all this, and Han Jingjing also woke up. She found that she was still lying in Lin Yi's arms, and a sense of happiness arose spontaneously. Brother Lin Yi, was Jingjing dreaming just now? Han Jingjing had an unrealistic feeling. Was she really cured? It seemed that there was no problem in her body and she was full of energy. It's okay. Everything is over. Lin Yi looked at Han Jingjing in his arms with pity. Jingjing, why are you so silly? Next time she asks you something, just tell her. Do you know how distressed I am when you are like this? If I came a step later, the consequences. Jingjing can't say anything. If I did, they would have gone to catch Brother Lin Yi. Han Jingjing shook her head. And that woman is very bad. Even if Jingjing told them, she would probably be beaten to death. That way she would probably die even faster. I will take revenge. Lin Yi's voice turned cold. It had been a long time since he'd last seen anyone who made him hate them to the bone, and little 1 and little 11 were the first. Don't worry, let Jingjing take revenge on her own. When I become a peak late phase heaven rank expert, I'll personally take revenge. I'll also kick that woman's boobs. Han Jingjing said with a beaming smile. Chapter 2609. And? Han Jingjing nodded in relief. Let's go, Boss Bai and the others are waiting for us at the door. Lin Yi said as he stood up, still holding on to Han Jingjing. Jingjing, do you want to take a bath? Han Jingjing found that she was still covered in blood and felt dirty. No need, we'll talk about it when we get back. Lin Yi said as he opened the door. Lin Yi, are you alright? Boss Bai looked at Han Jingjing, who was perfectly fine. How did Lin Yi do it? He saw the injury too. Even Miracle Dr. Guan and Dr. Kang's medicine wouldn't be able to help her, right? Lin Yi healed her with just needles? How was that possible? Moreover, although he didn't know how serious Han Jingjing's internal injuries were, her injuries were definitely not light. But looking at Han Jingjing now, other than being covered in blood, which was a little scary, she was full of energy. She didn't look like an injured person at all. What was going on? It's alright, Jingjing's injuries are all healed. Lin Yi didn't explain too much. I'll send Jingjing home first. Teacher Bai, let's talk later? I'll go to school to find you? Sure. Boss Bai was confused, but he wasn't a talkative person. He didn't ask too much since Lin Yi didn't want to talk about it. He knew that Lin Yi's medical skills were very good, at least much better than his, so he nodded. Then I'll go back to school first. Call me if you need anything. All right, Lin Yi said. After saying goodbye to Boss Bai, Lin Yi got into Sun Jingyi's car and went back to the villa in the Shueshang district. Meng Yao and Yushu had already come back from school with Han Xiaoqiao. They had received a call from Xinyan saying that Han Jingjing was in trouble, and that Lin Yi was with them. Meng Yao didn't think much of it. But when she saw Lin Yi carrying a bloodied Han Jingjing into the villa, she was stunned. Lin Yi Jingjing, what happened? Meng Yao looked at the blood-covered Han Jingjing, who was in a terrible state. What happened? Yao Yao sis Jingjing is fine. Han Jingjing jumped down from Lin Yi's arms and said with a smile, Aya, I'm so dirty. I'll go take a shower first. Shu, can you help me get some clothes from home? Okay. Yushu looked at Han Jingjing curiously and then at Lin Yi. She nodded and walked out of the villa, but she said as she walked, Shield bro, wait for Shu. I'll tell you a story when she comes back. Damn Shu, what story? Lin Yi and Jingjing are in danger, and it became a story in your mouth? Meng Yao glared at Yushu and said to Lin Yi, ignore her. Since Shield bro and Jingjing are fine, then they must be fine. Yushu shrugged nonchalantly. Indeed, it's all in the past. Lin Yi nodded. She was smart. She wouldn't worry about something that happened in the past. It didn't take long for Yushu to return, and it seemed that she had run there. Back in the living room, Han Jingjing hadn't come out from her shower yet. Lin Yi sat down and briefly told them what had happened, but he wasn't too sure about Han Jingjing's things. How did she know that he had Zhang Liju's notes? And how did she know that he and Han Jingjing could work together to make pills? Even Boss Bai didn't know about these things, and it was only today that Lin Yi told Boss Bai about Zhang Liju's notes. The shock on Boss Bai's face back then didn't seem fake, which meant that Boss Bai didn't know about these things before. But if that was the case, then how did Little 1 and Little 11 know about it? Xinyan and Jingyi, on the other hand, didn't know how bad Han Jingjing's condition was, but hearing that Jingjing's chest and lower body were all smashed up, the blood drained from their faces. The Miss, on the other hand, teared up out of worry. Han Jingjing was too pitiful. Fortunately, Lin Yi could save her. What would they do otherwise? Everyone here was close to Lin Yi, and they knew about Lin Yi's situation. They weren't too surprised, but they felt that it was too shocking. If it weren't for Boss Bai's appearance, Lin Yi wouldn't be Little One's match at all. If Lin Yi had been one step slower, they might not have been able to see Han Jingjing again. Han Jingjing finished showering and changed into the clothes Yushu left at the bathroom door. She saw everyone in the room sitting on the sofa in silence, their faces sad. She paused. What's wrong with you guys? Jingjing, you're done? Lin Yi said, feeling much better as he looked at Han Jingjing, who was perfectly fine. The others were the same. They breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that Han Jingjing wasn't hurt at all. It was a scary thing, but it was all over. Yeah, Lin Yi bro, don't worry. Jingjing is fine. Han Jingjing said with a smile. Ah, don't worry. Go back and rest. I'm going to school. There's a lot of things I need to talk to Boss Bai about. Lin Yi had a lot of questions he wanted to ask Boss Bai, including Little 1 and Little 11's background, their sects, and Boss Bai himself. Okay, I'll go back and rest then. I'm a bit tired today. Jingjing should rest early too. Han Jingjing nodded obediently. Xinyan, you sleep in my room. I might come back a bit late. Lin Yi turned to Xinyan. Okay. Xinyan agreed, but she was feeling more and more conflicted. Was she living with Lin Yi now? Xinyan felt as if they were no different from any other college couple living together off campus. Sigh. Xinyan sighed. Was she sinking deeper and deeper? What should she do? She couldn't bring herself to reject Lin Yi. She had seen what happened today. What Lin Yi lacked the most right now was strength. Only with greater strength could he better protect the people around him. The only thing Xinyan could do right now was to help Lin Yi with his training. Chapter 26:10. Boss Bai's past. Although he and Han Jingjing had an ambiguous relationship, they were not boyfriend and girlfriend yet, so it was inappropriate for Lin Yi to visit her at that time, but he was worried, so he asked. Han Jingjing blushed slightly. When she was taking a shower, she naturally carefully examined the more important parts of a girl. They were all destroyed by Little 11, but now they were as good as new, even more perfect than before, which made Han Jingjing very satisfied. Was this a blessing in disguise? Seeing Han Jingjing's appearance, Lin Yi knew that there was no problem. He nodded, walked out of the room quickly and drove to school. Boss Bai had not left yet, but stayed in the office to wait for Lin Yi. His mood was very complicated at the moment. Before seeing Han Jingjing's injury, he still had some feelings for Xianxin and the others, but after seeing Han Jingjing, there was only anger in his heart. Like master, like disciple, and like daughter. Xianxin was so cruel back then, and so was his daughter and disciple, showing no mercy at all. If he hadn't intervened in time, Lin Yi and Han Jingjing would have been at the gates of hell by now, wouldn't they? Dang dang dang. The sound of knocking came from the office, and Boss Bai came back to reality from his thoughts and said, "Please come in." Mr. Bai. Lin Yi's mood was also very complicated at the moment. Although Boss Bai saved him, the unclear relationship between Boss Bai and Little One's master made Lin Yi a bit confused. Was Boss Bai a good person or a bad person? Lin Yi, you're here. Sit down. Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi, sighed slightly, and pointed at the sofa next to him. Mr. Bai, what happened today? Lin Yi walked over, sat next to Boss Bai, and asked directly, that Little One and Little 11, who are they? And you, how come you are their uncle master? This matter. I knew you would ask me. Bai Boss looked at Lin Yi with a bitter smile. I can't tell you which sect they belong to and who they are because I have an ancestral rule that the name of the sect can't be shown to others easily, unless certain conditions are met. However, the ancient sects in the outside world generally call us that place. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. You can't even tell me? Lin Yi really wanted to know his enemy's sect. I'm also your disciple, right? And from a certain point of view, am I your ancestor? This. Boss Bai hesitated after hearing Lin Yi's words. Yes, from the perspective of a disciple or a grandmaster, there was no reason for Boss Bai to hide it from Lin Yi. Therefore, after hesitating for a moment, Boss Bai still said, the name of our sect is the Five Elements Sect. Since you are my disciple and my grandmaster, I will not hide it from you anymore. However, don't tell others about this name in case of unnecessary trouble. Our sect. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and immediately frowned. That is to say, I am really in the same sect with Little One and Little 11? My enemy and I are in the same sect? In a sense, yes. I am the leader of this sect, and you are my disciple or my ancestor, so we are both members of the Five Elements sect. Boss Bai nodded and said. But they are my enemies. Lin Yi said resolutely, one day I will definitely seek justice for Jing. Do you know how I was injured? Boss Bai did not answer Lin Yi's words but suddenly asked. Oh. Lin Yi thought that Boss Bai was avoiding the previous topic. It was Little Yi's master who did something to me when I was making elixirs, causing me to be possessed and my meridians were all broken. Boss Bai raised his head, his eyes full of sadness and helplessness. Looking at the ceiling, he seemed to be recalling the past. I didn't expect that, like the kind of master, like the kind of disciple. What? Lin Yi was shocked after hearing that. Boss Bai's internal injury was actually caused by his junior brother in the same sect, that is Little Yi's master? Didn't it mean that Boss Bai also had a grudge against that place? Very surprised, aren't you? Boss Bai laughed. I thought after so many years he would change. I thought back then it was just that he was competitive, but I was wrong. He always regarded me as an obstacle that prevented him from becoming the leader. After getting rid of me, he would actually be the leader of the sect. Who? Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief and felt much more relaxed. I understand this is for the best. In the future, when I find trouble with them, I won't have to worry anymore. Don't be impulsive, your strength is too far away from theirs. That place is the birthplace of the Five Elements. The mental cultivation methods and martial arts of every attribute have been excavated and cultivated to the extreme. Ordinary cultivators are no match for them. Boss Bai shook his head and said seriously, even ordinary masters with the strength of the peak late stage of heaven stage are no match for Little E. I noticed that. Lin Yi nodded and said, deeply convinced. The masters from that place were all abnormal and very powerful. If not for Lin Yi relying on the powerful art of dragon mastery, he might not be able to fight against them at all. Also, according to my master's teachings, we must complete a big plan. I hope, before this big plan, you won't find trouble with Xianxian, who is my junior brother and Little Yi's master. Boss Bai said, but if you have the ability to kill Little E and Little 11, I won't stop you. Big plan? Lin Yi was stunned. What big plan? Not to mention killing Xianxian, even killing Little E was impossible for Lin Yi in a short period of time. Right now, Lin Yi wanted to kill Little 11, who was the person with the most hatred. As for Little E and Xianxian, they would die sooner or later, and Lin Yi was not so eager to kill them. Don't ask now, it won't do you any good, but I can guarantee if your strength reaches the peak late stage of heaven stage by then, I can take you with me. That is a chance to pursue the heavenly Tao. Boss Bai said. Heavenly Tao? Lin Yi's eyes widened in surprise. This world really has a heavenly Tao? Chapter 26:11. Lin Yi's promise okay. Lin Yi nodded excitedly. This was the first time he had heard about a heavenly Tao master. What he knew before was not accurate, including what the big fire lion said. There was someone in Falbert's sect who went to pursue the heavenly Tao. But it was just a pursuit, and there was no specific information about whether they had achieved it or not. Therefore, Lin Yi was not very sure whether there was an existence more powerful than a heavenly stage master in this world. However, since there was a heavenly Dao master, Lin Yi was relieved. Although Xianxin and Xiao Yi were very powerful and almost invincible among the heavenly stage masters, he did not know if he had the confidence to defeat them when he was at the peak of the late heavenly stage. But if he set foot on the heavenly Dao first, it would be a piece of cake for him to deal with them. Lin Yi, there are some things that you have to learn to endure. I'm not the boss by from back then. I can't get justice for you. Even for myself, after thinking about it carefully today, I guess that after the plan is completed, I will be killed by Xianxin. Boss Bai was not stupid. Through what happened today, he had more or less guessed some of Xuanqin's character and intentions in these years. If the Heavenly Island plan was really successful, then Xianxin would definitely not let him go. Mr. Bai, don't worry. Lin Yi clenched his fists, took a deep breath and said firmly, today you protect me, but tomorrow I will let Xianxin and the others act according to my will. Xianxin, thank you for what you did today. You have given me another motivation to continue cultivating. Lin Yi secretly swore in his heart that one day, he would clear the name of Boss Bai and let him become the rightful leader of the Five Elements sect. At this moment, Lin Yi really regarded himself as Boss Bai's disciple, and the little bit of scruples he had about Boss Bai in his heart no longer existed. Although Boss Bai and them were from the same sect, they were not on the same side. Seriously speaking, he was also from the same sect as them. Haha, it seems that my judgment is very accurate. Back then, I insisted on taking you as my disciple. Elder Bai laughed heartily. Actually, from the moment I started teaching here, I let go of my grudges. However, I couldn't bear to see the foundation established by our ancestors be destroyed by Xianxin. Fortunately, I have two successors. This disciple will help you clean up your sect. Lin Yi said indifferently. To be honest, Lin Yi, after so many years, it's the first time that I've been so happy. My heart is alive again. I thought I could never go back to the sect in this life. Boss Bai said excitedly. In fact, he still wanted to go back, not because he was greedy for the position of the head of the sect, but because his master passed the position of the head to him, hoping that he could lead the Five Elements sect back to the higher level of the Heaven Stage Island. Me too. To be honest, on the way here just now, I was very conflicted. I was afraid that you had something to do with Little One and Little 11. But now, it seems that you do have something to do with them, but it's hatred like mine. Lin Yi said. I was also afraid that you wouldn't come and take revenge on Little One and Little 11. If that happened, I wouldn't be able to save you. Boss Bai said. I'm not stupid. The gap in strength is too big. How can I go and die? When Lin Yi fought with Little One before, he already found that he was no match for Little One at all. Not to mention him, even if he faced Little 11, Lin Yi did not have the confidence to win. If the 11th, 12th, and 13th style of Heaven Stage martial arts that Little 11 activated were as powerful as Little One, then Lin Yi would not be a match at all. Against a master like this, Lin Yi didn't even think about ambushing them when they weren't paying attention. That's good. Boss Bai nodded. He looked at the time on the table and said, it's getting late. Let's have a meal together and have a good chat. Today we are officially master and disciple, right? You won't run away anymore, right? Of course not. Lin Yi shook his head. Although Boss Bai had become a useless person, with him to deter Little One and Little 11 at least for a while, they would not come to trouble Lin Yi. It felt really good to have a master. Let's go to my home. I have another disciple to meet. You two can get to know each other. Boss Bai said, my disciple is a master cook. I'll ask her to prepare a table of dishes. We can talk while eating. All right. Lin Yi nodded. Then I'll call home. Okay, I'll make a call too. Boss Bai said as he picked up the phone on the table and was about to call his disciple. Lin Yi was afraid that the call would affect each other, so he walked out of the office first. He called Miss and told her that he was going to visit Boss Bai's home at night. He asked her not to wait for him and to sleep with Shu first. On the other side, Boss Bai called home. It was Boss Bai's wife who answered the phone. Boss Bai said directly, let Xianxin answer the phone. After a while, a pleasant and gentle female voice came from the other side of the phone. Master, are you looking for me? Yes, Xianxin, prepare a table of dishes and ask your master's wife to go to the supermarket downstairs to buy more ingredients. Boss Bai said. There are guests at home tonight? The disciple called Xianxin was slightly stunned. Boss Bai rarely invited guests to his home. Usually she would cook for 3 people. At most, she would cook more on the weekends when Boss Bai's son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandsons came back. Today was not the weekend and Boss Bai's family didn't come back. So there must be guests? Yes, I have another disciple. He is a young talent and a very powerful person. You can get to know him and get to know him. You are about the same age, so you should be able to get along well. Boss Bai said happily. Ah. After hearing Boss Bai's words, Xinxin didn't know why, but she suddenly felt a little repulsed. Why did Boss Bai sound like he was introducing her to someone? A young talent and a very powerful person? Xinxin, you have to do your best. When he eats your dishes, he will definitely come to our home often in the future. Boss Bai said. Oh. Xinxin secretly frowned. Often come to our home as a guest? What does that mean? It seems that he is really introducing me to someone? But Boss Bai was her master, so she was embarrassed to ask. But she secretly said in her heart, I must not let this person come to my home often. Chapter 26:12. Another talented young man? After all, love was free now, and whether or not Lin Yi liked his apprentice was another matter. Boss Bai couldn't be so nosy. In fact, he really wanted Lin Yi and Xinxin to communicate more. Although Lin Yi didn't know alchemy, his medical skills and theoretical knowledge were quite powerful. Especially today, the speed and effect of Lin Yi's treatment for Han Jingjing amazed Boss Bai. It was naturally his wish to have Lin Yi visit his home often. That was why he said that. He didn't expect Xinxin to misunderstand. Okay, I'll talk to you later. See you later. Boss Bai didn't hear the negative emotions in Xinxin's tone. He hung up the phone. Xinxin hung up the phone and couldn't help but pout. She thought to herself, I don't care what kind of talented young man you are. I guarantee that you won't want to eat again and won't dare to come again. Humph 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 humph. After the call, Lin Yi returned to Boss Bai's office, and Boss Bai had just finished the call. Mr. Bai, have you made the arrangements? Lin Yi asked. Yes, everything is arranged. Let's go together. Boss Bai said, stood up and walked out of the office with Lin Yi to the family area of the school. Boss Bai lived in a separate professor's villa in the university. His status was superior, so he was naturally qualified to enjoy the villa. As they walked, Boss Bai introduced, this apprentice of mine not only makes rapid progress in alchemy, but also has a very outstanding ability in medicine identification. You can often discuss and learn from each other. Her ability to identify herbs is no worse than yours. Boss Bai said, currently she is already a first-level alchemist and is trying to break through to the second level. So good? Lin Yi couldn't help but be a little surprised. Boss Bai used to be a genius alchemist. As long as his apprentice's aptitude met the requirements, and some were not so stupid, it was not surprising that she became a first-level alchemist. But in the identification of herbs, that was talent. Lin Yi had this kind of talent, and even old man Lin was slightly inferior to him. So when Lin Yi heard that there was someone who was similar to him, he was naturally interested. Of course, if it weren't for your good relationship with Han Jingjing, I would have introduced her to be your girlfriend. Boss Bai said. I'll pass. You can introduce me to Bai Weitua or Bai Weikai. Lin Yi said. Do you think I don't know that Bai Weitua has a girlfriend? Isn't she called Himeiwa? Boss Bai said, and even if he doesn't, I won't introduce him. They are not the same kind of people and they won't be happy in the future. But you are different. You are both cultivators and you both have talents in this aspect, so Bai Weikai can't. Chapter 26:13. FF37, FF18, XFF33, FF23, OMU 85C0F, 8BF4, 66F4, 65B0, 6700, 5 February, 5C0F, 8BF4, 9605, 8BFB, 7F51. Boss Bai's wife hurried to open the door, while Guan Xen served the last dish of the day, sweet and sour mustard fish. Guan Xen watched as master's wife went to open the door, and stood to the side like a virtuous lady. Looking at the delicacies on the table, she chuckled to herself. You're finally here, aren't you? I'll let you taste the ups and downs of life tonight. The door opened and Boss Bai and Lin Yi walked into the villa one after the other. Master's wife had already prepared a pair of slippers for Lin Yi. Lin Yi, this is my wife, and also your master's wife. Boss Bai hesitated for a moment, but still decided to treat Lin Yi as his disciple. After all, Lin Yi had said that he would always be a disciple. XN, come over and meet your senior brother. Lin Yi had entered the school later, so he should be the junior brother. However, Boss Bai didn't dare to let Lin Yi be the junior brother because he was the founder of the school, so he arranged for him to be the senior brother. It's you? Guan Xian's eyes widened in disbelief as she looked at Boss Bai's so-called talented disciple. She didn't know what to do and her mind was in a mess. How did this happen? Oh my god, I don't want to live anymore. How could she make the same mistake twice? Guan Xian, how could you be so stupid? XNXN, your Master Bai's last disciple? Lin Yi was surprised as well. He didn't expect Boss Bai's disciple to be Guan Xin. This surprised Lin Yi quite a bit. You're the talented young man that Master talked about? Guan Xin looked at Lin Yi. She then looked at the dishes on the table and felt like crying. Another talented young man? Lin Yi couldn't help but find it funny when he thought back to his meeting with Guan Xin at Xuemin's house. XNXN, you know Lin Yi? Bai Bo was also surprised. He didn't expect Lin Yi to know Guan Xin. But thinking about it, Lin Yi had some unknown relationship with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. If that was the case, it wasn't impossible for him to know Guan Xin, but he didn't know the exact relationship between Lin Yi and Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. He didn't know if Lin Yi knew Guan Xuemin personally, so he didn't think too much about it. After all, he was one of the few people who knew the inside story. Guan Xuemin was just a figurehead in Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. The operations, on the other hand, were handled by someone else, and the fact that Lin Yi knew Guan Xin meant that he had a close relationship with Guan Xuemin. It was rather surprising. And? Guan Xin nodded, blushing. Master, why didn't you say so earlier? Why didn't you say so earlier? Bai Bo narrowed his eyes at Guan Xin's bashful look. There must be something going on between the two of them. It seemed that Lin Yi was indeed a playboy. As long as it was a beauty, it would have something to do with him. I didn't know that you knew Lin Yi. Why didn't you say so earlier? But since you know each other, it saves me the trouble of introducing you. Lin Yi, come and eat. Xin's cooking skills must be familiar to you. She has improved quite a bit recently. Ever since she learned how to condense alchemic fire, she can even cook with alchemic fire. Lin Yi was speechless. Alchemic fire could be used to cook? You've never heard of it, right? This is Xin's original creation. Come have a taste. Bai Bo said proudly. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. He took the slippers from Master's wife, put them on, thanked her, and entered the mansion. At that moment, Guan Xin. She didn't know what to do. I should have asked Bai Bo for the name of that handsome young man. Then things wouldn't have turned out this way. But Guan Xin didn't like that handsome young man at all. Why would she ask for his name? Looking at the dishes on the table, Guan Xin couldn't help but walk in circles. She saw that Lin Yi, Bai Bo were about to sit down. She hurriedly said, "The dishes are cold, right? Should I go heat them up?" Cold. Bai Bo's wife paused. Didn't I just cook them? They're still steaming, why are they cold? Then? I have a good idea. We've been eating these dishes every day. I'm sick of them. How about we eat instant noodles? What do you think? Guan Xin suddenly had an idea. There's a new kind of braised meat noodles. It's pretty good. I bought a lot of them. Let's throw away the dishes and eat the noodles? Question mark. Bai Bo looked at his proud disciple, confused. What was going on? Throwing away the dishes? Did she get too excited after seeing Lin Yi and her brain short-circuited? Bai Bo's wife was also confused. What kind of noodles were they eating? Even if the braised meat noodles were good, they couldn't be used to entertain guests, could they? Lin Yi, on the other hand, smiled strangely as he looked at Guan Xin. He remembered the meal he had at Xuemin's house, and Lin Yi knew that tonight's meal would be the same as before. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was you. Guan Xin saw Lin Yi look her way, and knew that Lin Yi had figured it out. She immediately felt a little embarrassed. Haha, these dishes are really cold. I'm going to cook them. Lin Yi smiled as he picked up the last dish Guan Xin had picked up, the sweet and sour mustard fish, and walked into the kitchen. This time Bai Bo was even more confused. Why did Lin Yi go crazy with Guan Xin? But Lin Yi and Guan Xin were different. Although Lin Yi was a disciple, he was also the founder. Bai Bo could only listen to him. Forget it, I'm starving. It's not cold, I'll have a bite first. With that, Bai Bo picked up a piece of braised pork with preserved vegetables and put it into his mouth. But after a few refusals, he spat it out. He almost died of disgust. Boss, what's wrong with you? Master Bai frowned when she saw Bai Bo spit out the meat. It's so disgusting. The oil in the meat hasn't been fried out, and it has no taste at all. It smells good, but it's the smell of spring onions and preserved vegetables. The meat itself has no taste at all. Xin, did you forget to add other condiments? Bai Bo asked curiously. Guan Xin didn't know how to explain. But then Lin Yi came out of the kitchen. The sweet and sour mustard fish had been changed by Lin Yi into a cold dish. The sour, sweet, and spicy mustard fish tasted different all of a sudden. And then Lin Yi brought another celery stir-fried meat into the kitchen. He repeated the process until finally, it was the braised pork with preserved vegetables. At this time Bai Bo and Master Bai finally realized what was going on. Bai Bo asked, XNXN, is there something wrong with these dishes you made? FF37, W03C9, 30FB, Off 4D. Chapter 26:14. You're an alchemist too? Guan Xan was embarrassed but she couldn't say it out loud. She didn't know how to explain it. At this time, Lin Yi had just finished making the last dish of braised pork with preserved vegetables. Hearing Boss Bai's question, Lin Yi smiled and explained, well, it's actually like this. Then Lin Yi told Boss Bai and Madame Bai about his visit to Guan Shuamin's house. Coming from Lin Yi's mouth, it was naturally quite funny. Boss Bai and Madame Bai were amused and didn't blame Guan Xan anymore. Haha, so that's how it is. Alright, I'll have a taste of Lin Yi's cooking then. Boss Bai picked up another piece of braised pork with preserved vegetables and put it in his mouth carefully. But this time he wasn't confident enough to swallow it all at once. Instead he savored it slowly. But this time as soon as it entered his mouth, the rich aroma made Boss Bai swallow the rest of the meat as well. He praised, delicious. He's even better than XNXIN's cooking? Madame Bai had a taste of the sweet and sour mustard fish and nodded to herself. Changing dishes was much more difficult than cooking. Guan Xin's dish was already terrible, but Lin Yi was able to make it even better after putting it back into the pot. Just how skilled did he have to be? This wasn't something that just anyone with high culinary skills could do. Guan Xin's face was also full of admiration. Last time Lin Yi didn't do anything, so Guan Xin didn't know that Lin Yi was capable of this. Now that she saw Lin Yi, she was even more moved. No wonder her grandpa and master admired him so much. So when Boss Bai said that Lin Yi was better than her, she didn't get angry. Instead she felt proud. Yes, Lin Yi is actually very good. I originally thought that Xinshin would be unhappy if Lin Yi became the eldest senior brother, but now it seems that she won't be, right? Boss Bai asked with a smile. Yeah, of course not. Guan Xin nodded matter-of-factly. Lin Yi, you know alchemy too? I won't. Lin Yi simply shook his head and said, my constitution is very strange. I can condense a pill fire, but I can't control the intensity and temperature of the fire. Is it because your body lacks the wood attribute? Guan Xin paused. That's not it. Maybe there are too many attributes so it's a mess, Lin Yi said. Yes, in Lin Yi's body, it should be because there are too many attributes and they can't fuse well with each other. That's why it's like this. These days I've been reading some ancient books left by my master, hoping to find a reliable solution. Boss Bai nodded and said, but I haven't found anything yet, but I've found some clues. In Lin Yi's case he lacks an opportunity. If we can fuse several attributes that are mutually restraining in his body and form a small cycle in his body, the problem will be easily solved. Small cycle? Lin Yi didn't expect Boss Bai to find a solution, and he couldn't help but be surprised. That means it's still possible for me to make alchemy, right? That's right. Boss Bai nodded and said, you can indeed make alchemy, and there have been similar situations in the past generations of my sect. It's just that when I left, I took too little information with me. Most of the information I took was related to alchemy, not the records of those strange things. Now it's impossible to go back and ask about it. Lin Yi nodded, but he wasn't too disappointed. After all, the situation that Boss Bai said now was already a pleasant surprise for Lin Yi. Before, Lin Yi thought that he couldn't make alchemy at all, but now it seemed that he could, but the attributes in his body didn't fuse and form a small cycle, so there was a situation where they mutually restrained each other. It's okay as long as there's hope. Lin Yi said, as for the specific method, we can slowly study and explore it. Well, come to my study after dinner, I'll show you that book. Boss Bai said. Lin Yi nodded readily. Guan Xan was confused. These attributes mutually restrained each other, a small cycle, she hadn't come into contact with it so she didn't really understand it, but she did understand one thing, and that was that Lin Yi couldn't make alchemy but there was hope. Senior brother Lin Yi, then you have to work hard. Xinshin is already a first-grade alchemist, and she's trying to break through to the second grade. Guan Xin said with some pride. She finally had something better than Lin Yi, and she could finally become his right-hand man. Today Guan Xin was very happy. Originally, she wasn't interested in learning alchemy. She just wanted to learn pharmacology and go back to help Lin Yi's company. Boss Bai's ardent hope of knowledge forced Guan Xin to learn alchemy, but now it seemed that Lin Yi also came into contact with alchemy, so Guan Xin felt that learning alchemy was a wise choice, and she finally had something to surpass Lin Yi. Okay. Lin Yi smiled. Oh right, Xinshin, you're already trying to break through to the second grade? Is there any difficulty? Difficult? Not yet, practice makes perfect. Guan Xen shook her head. I haven't made a second-level pill yet. That's right. Guan Xen shook her head. Actually, that's not the case. Boss Bai suddenly said, the reason why Xinxin's success rate is too low is because the second-grade medicine cauldron I have here is a bit too broken. There's a crack on it and it will leak out during the alchemy process, so the success rate is naturally much lower than normal. In this case, it's reasonable that Xinxin's success rate is low. Crack? Lin Yi was stunned. Master Bai, then wouldn't you use a medicine cauldron without a crack? This medicine cauldron is what I used when I was learning alchemy. I only brought it with me as a souvenir. I can't even make alchemy myself, so what's the point of carrying a good medicine cauldron? Boss Bai smiled bitterly. Who would have thought that after a few decades I would be able to take in a disciple and teach her alchemy? The reason why Boss Bai was teaching outside was to stay away from the conflicts of that place, and also to find a wood-type inheritor according to the ancestors' teachings, a girl who was born with an extremely keen sense for herbs. But when Boss Bai saw Guan Xan, he realized that she not only had the talent of an inheritor, but also an alchemist, so he taught her alchemy. Chapter 26:15. Inheritors trained all the way and learned the inheritance through the process of coming into contact with the herbs, but it was different after becoming a refiner. Refiners had to constantly use up their qi when they were making pellets, and they always needed time to recover their qi. The chances of learning the inheritance were relatively small, and most of their time was spent on making pellets, so they didn't even have the chance to learn the inheritance from plants. I see. Lin Yi understood, but it's okay, I still have an extra second-level cauldron. I'll give it to Xian next time. That idiot right coiling tiger gave it to me. Right, speaking of right coiling tiger, Shenshin sent someone to ask for information from Jing, so it might be because of House Yu. Above them is the Sky Elixir sect, and behind Sky Elixir sect. It's that place. White Boss suddenly thought of something and said to Lin Yi, oh, House Yu. Sky Elixir sect? That place? Lin Yi paused, a bitter smile on his face. So this was where the problem was. He was thinking of tempting right coiling tiger in exchange for some good stuff, but in the end he was the one who suffered the loss. It seemed that as he got stronger and stronger, the people he came into contact with also got stronger and stronger. Among the people around him, there would inevitably be people who were connected to higher levels. He really had to be careful in the future. I'm just guessing, I don't know if it's true. White Boss said, but how did right coiling tiger know that you have Zhang Liju's notes? That's hard to say, I've never revealed it to him before, and today is the first time I'm telling you. Lin Yi couldn't think of an answer to this. That's weird, forget it, let's not think about this for now. White Boss waved his hand, let's eat. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Naturally, he didn't think that there was a problem with the auctioneer's market, and that there was a hidden person from House Yu that leaked the information. Master Brother Lin Yi, what are you talking about? What House Yu? Sky Elixir sect? What's going on? Who's Jing? What's Zhang Liju's notes? Guan Xen was confused, but she was more concerned about who Jing was. It was a girl's name and Lin Yi seemed to be close to her? Otherwise, Boss Bai wouldn't have said it here, so Guan Xen was a little anxious. The Yu family and the Heavenly Elixir sect are two forces that specialize in alchemy. Lin Yi explained, Jing is my classmate and also our relationship is similar. She's also an alchemist, but she's already a second-grade alchemist. She's a little tired today, so she didn't come. When she's free, I'll ask her to come as well. You two can get to know each other and discuss alchemy together. I see. Guan Xian was a little happy but also a little disappointed. She knew that Lin Yi had a lot of girlfriends and she didn't ask for anything. As long as she could have a place in Lin Yi's heart, she would be happy. She nodded, alright, I'll be learning from her then. As for Zhang Liju's notes, I'll need Master Bai to explain it to me, Lin Yi said. Haha, Zhang Liju is our ancestor, and Lin Yi is equivalent to Zhang Liju's disciple, so in terms of seniority he's also our ancestor. Bai Boss said as he explained Zhang Liju's situation to Guan Xen, but Lin Yi insisted that he's my student, so there's nothing I can do about it. I see. Guan Xen breathed out in relief, thinking that it was fortunate that Boss Bai didn't insist. If he did, wouldn't she be Lin Yi's disciple too? She didn't want that. That's right, Lin Yi, since you and Xen know each other, you should come visit us often, Boss Bai said. Alright, I'll do as you say then. Lin Yi nodded. Guan Xen kept smiling as she peeked at Lin Yi. She had something she wanted to say to Lin Yi, but Boss Bai was there so she couldn't say it. She could only hold it in for now. After dinner, Master Bai and Guan Xen went to clean up the dishes, while Linny went to the room with Boss Bai. On the way, Linny was thinking about something very important, and that was the manual he got from the hidden house Zhuang. Before, Linny thought that this manual wasn't very practical, but now it seemed to be very useful. If Han Jingjing and Guan Xian were to concoct pills together, then there was a chance that they could concoct a third-level pill. It was just that Linny couldn't practice this manual, so he couldn't put it into practice. It was a headache. He'd been worried about not being able to find a suitable refiner, but now that Guan Xian had joined him, he'd naturally be relieved. Guan Xian and Han Jingjing were both people he trusted, and they wouldn't harm him. The only problem was that he'd have to look into the practitioner's arts a little more. Thinking of the manual, Linny couldn't help but think of the martial art combination, then his own Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm and Tagan Dragon's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. That's right. Before, Linny was a little regretful that little E didn't use the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, so Linny couldn't secretly learn it. But Boss Bai was the leader of the 5 elements gate where little E was from. Did he have a martial art manual for the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm? After walking into the study with Boss Bai, Linny asked eagerly, "Master Bai, do you know Tagan Dragon?" "Yes, isn't he the person Xianxin chose to carry out the plan?" "He was crippled by you." Boss Bai was a little confused as to why Linny would suddenly ask this question. "Why are you asking about him?" "He has a martial art called the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. Do you know about it, Master Bai?" Linny quickly asked. 5 elements 8 trigrams palm? Boss Bai was taken aback, then shook his head. The 5 elements gate is a sect of a higher level than the ancient sects. There are a lot of martial arts collected in it. I naturally don't know what Tagan Dragon cultivates, and I'm not even very clear about the martial arts that little E and the others use. You also know that I've been studying alchemy before, so I don't study anything other than martial arts for my own use. I don't have the time to study anything else. Chapter 26:16. Dinner Talk, Part 2. You are asking Master Zhuang to memorize the combined mental cultivation method and martial skill. Isn't that making things difficult for him? What? Do you want to learn this martial skill? Boss Bai thought for a while and said, "It sounds like this martial skill can only be practiced by those who have the constitution of the 5 elements. Ordinary people can't practice it. Even if they do, they can only exert the energy of 1 or 2 elements, so the power will be much smaller. I just want to study it." Lin Yi couldn't tell others about his miraculous all-purpose martial skill, so he could only give a perfunctory answer. Boss Bai didn't take it too seriously. He nodded and came to the bookshelf. He found a handwritten book, took it out, turned to the bookmark page and gave it to Lin Yi. "According to what you said, you have 3 elements in your body: fire, wood and water. But fire and water are 2 opposite elements, which is why you can't make elixirs. But according to the introduction in the ancient book, this is because the elements in your body can't circulate and combine into a circle, so you can't make elixirs. If you can make the elements in your body circulate, then the 3 elements in your body will no longer be opposite to each other, but will form a circle so that you can link with each other." Lin Yi hurriedly took the book from Boss Bai and read it. The drawbacks of the 5 elements in the body before they circulate and the benefits after they circulate were written on it. But it was using the 5 elements as an example. If the power of the 5 elements could be combined with the corresponding martial skill, the power of the martial skill would be equal to the power of 5 ranks of each element. According to the calculation above, it would be a bit terrifying. 1 element plus 5 elements would be 5 times, which was 25. That was to say, 1 movement was equivalent to 26 movements of others? An Earth rank master could kill a master at the peak of the late stage of Heaven rank? How could it be so ridiculous? People with the constitution of the 5 elements were really abnormal. Tagan Dragon? The first thing that came to Lin Yi's mind was the Tagan Dragon. That's right, he must have circulated the 5 elements in his body. However, the circulation might not have been too successful. Coupled with the problem of his aptitude, the might of the martial skill he released was not so abnormal. It was only slightly more heaven-defying than Lin Yi's. Yes, that should be the case for Tagan Dragons. Boss Bai nodded. First of all, I need to test the attributes in your body, and then find a way to circulate this attribute. If it succeeds, then you should be able to refine pills. Then? Lin Yi was both excited and worried. Although Boss Bai had found some relevant introductions, there was no solution at all. In this way, Lin Yi was full of expectations, but he knew that it was probably impossible to solve the problem. You don't have to worry. I'll check the information again. I have a lot of information here. Although I didn't take away any martial skill manuals back then, I did take a lot of copies of the information on alchemy. I haven't studied many of them yet. I just saw this one. Boss Bai pointed to the bookshelf not far away and said. Then I'll have to trouble you, Teacher Bai. Linny took a deep breath and said excitedly. Boss Bai's bookshelf was indeed filled with books on alchemy. From this, it could be seen how obsessed Boss Bai was with the art of alchemy. If Boss Bai could have the level he had back then there shouldn't be any problem for him to refine a third-grade pill, right? But no matter what, Lin Yi couldn't let Boss Bai recover his strength back then. Healing was not a problem for Lin Yi. He could heal all the damaged meridians of Boss Bai, but he couldn't improve his strength. The situation of the inner sect was different from that of the outer sect. Even if Lin Yi repaired Boss Bai's meridians, the true chi in the meridians couldn't come back. Lin Yi could only improve Boss Bai himself slowly. Just like when he healed Faubert. Although Faubert was an Earth-grade master back then, Lin Yi was limited by his own strength and could only improve Faubert's strength to the peak of the late phase of the Golden Class. And now Lin Yi could heal Boss Bai's injuries, but Boss Bai's strength was at most the early phase of the Earth-grade. If he wanted to become a Sky-grade master, he still had to train up bit by bit. Of course, if the meridians weren't all broken or just broken, and the true chi hadn't been lost yet, Lin Yi was confident that he could restore Boss Bai's strength after healing. But since Boss Bai's meridians weren't just broken, and all of them were broken, Lin Yi really couldn't do anything about it. However, even so, Lin Yi still planned to help Boss Bai repair his meridians at a suitable time. As for the subsequent training, it would be Boss Bai's own business. Unless Lin Yi stepped into the Sky grade, then he could continue to help Boss Bai level up. As a result, Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to heal Boss Bai's wounds and level up. Even if Boss Bai recovered, he wouldn't be able to make a third-level elixir. At most, he would be able to make a second-level elixir like Han Jingjing. Mr. Bai, say, if your meridians are recovered, will Shenshin be suspicious and kill you? Lin Yi hesitated and decided to give Boss Bai a heads-up. Oh, my meridians are recovered? How is that possible? Boss Bai was slightly dazed and said, I know my injury. It's not an external injury but an internal one. Even a third-grade recover pill has no effect on me. How can I recover? I'm just saying, what if? Lin Yi asked. If. Speaking of this, Boss Bai couldn't help but be lost in thought. Although he always felt that Shenshin couldn't be so ruthless, what happened today also told Boss Bai that some things were actually so ruthless. Although he didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that if his meridians were recovered, maybe Shenshin would kill him again. He will kill you, right? Seeing Boss Bai's hesitation, Lin Yi suddenly understood something. Maybe? I'm not very sure. Boss Bai smiled bitterly and shook his head. However, even if my meridians are recovered, I have to cultivate again. There's no true chi in my body, so I don't have the strength. Oh, then if it's possible, when you recover your strength, you should hide it first and bear it for a while. Lin Yi suggested. Chapter 26:17. Warm Evening, Part 1. There will be a chance I'll think of something for you? Lin Yi said. Haha, alright, I'll be waiting then. Boss Bai didn't take it seriously. After all, although Han Jingjing's injuries were serious today, Boss Bai thought that it was just little Eleven's torture, and her meridians weren't broken, so Lin Yi healed her. Maybe it was because of the little Huan pellet and some miraculous Jinchuang. He didn't think too deeply about it. It's getting late, I'll be heading back then. Lin Yi said, Zhang Liju's notes as a refiner, I'll have Jing Jing send it to your email. Alright, there's no rush. Boss Bai said, she needs to recover first, it's fine if she doesn't come to school these few days, I'll give her some time off. Lin Yi nodded. He knew Han Jingjing's situation the best, and it could be said that she was fine now. However, he didn't want to brag, so he just nodded and left. He came to the living room downstairs, and Guan Xian and Master's wife were watching TV, waiting for Lin Yi and Boss Bai to come downstairs. Both of them stood up upon seeing them. You're leaving? Master's wife asked with a smile. Yeah, Master's wife, I'll be leaving first, I'll come visit another day. Lin Yi said. Xn, you see Lin Yi off, Boss Bai said to Guan Xn. Okay. Guan Xn was overjoyed and nodded excitedly, quickly running to Lin Yi's side. Haha. Boss Bai smiled faintly. He was afraid that Lin Yi and Guan Xn wouldn't get along. After all, the thing he hated the most in his life was disharmony between his disciples. It was like that between him and Shenshin, so he cared even more when it came to his disciple. It seemed like there wouldn't be any problems between Lin Yi and Guan Xn, and this made Boss Bai very happy. After leaving the villa with Lin Yi, Guan Xn let out a sigh of relief. You? Unexpectedly, Lin Yi also spoke in unison. Lin Yi smiled and said, you go first. What did I want to say? Guan Xn was a little nervous. She hadn't seen Lin Yi in a while, so she wasn't as casual as before. Then I'll go first. I really didn't expect that you would become Bai Laoshir's disciple and learn alchemy. Lin Yi said, I thought that you were studying medicine. I'm surprised too. I thought I wouldn't be able to help you with alchemy, but it seems like you're studying alchemy as well. Guan Exine suddenly thought of the girl called Jing. She was also an alchemist and a second-level one at that. Did that mean that Lin Yi didn't value her that much? Lin Yi paused when he saw the change in Guan Xian's expression. What's wrong? Why aren't you talking? Nope, I think I need to work harder. I'm only a first-level alchemist right now, I probably won't be able to help you. Guan Xian said self-deprecatingly. She felt that she was pretty useless. First-level alchemist and second-level alchemist aren't that important. As long as you're willing, I can make you a second-level alchemist anytime. Lin Yi said. A second-level alchemist has to be at least a mystic class cultivator, right? I'm only a golden class, I'm still far from it. That's why I keep failing when I try to make second-level pills. Guan Xen was a little confused by Lin Yi's words. Peak late-phase golden class? Lin Yi nodded as he looked at Guan Xian's strength. You're just one step away from mystic class. You'll be able to break through after eating a small qi-gathering pill. You can see my strength? Guan Xian was a little surprised, but she didn't think much about it. She thought that Boss Ba had told Lin Yi about it. What she cared about was Lin Yi's following words. I remember now. You have a second-level alchemist with you. Indeed, if he could make some small qi-gathering pills for me to eat, it wouldn't be impossible for me to become an Earth-class early-phase cultivator. Then, with a second-level cauldron, I'd be able to make second-level pills. That's true. Lin Yi nodded and smiled. But there's no need to go through all that trouble. Give me your hand. Huh? Guan Xian paused, her face blushing. Did Lin Yi want to hold her hand? Guan Xian's heart sped up at the thought, and her palms started to sweat. But she still reached out her hand in happiness and nervousness, waiting for Lin Yi to hold it. This was a scene she'd been looking forward to for a long time. She didn't think that they'd meet again after such a long time. This heartbeat, this moment of happiness, made Guan Xian feel that all the hardships she'd suffered these past few days were worth it. Her separation from Lin Yi was for a better reunion. Lin Yi was a little surprised to see Guan Xian's expression, but he quickly understood that Guan Xian had misunderstood. Lin Yi had a good impression of Guan Xian, but there was still Wang Xinyan's matter to be settled. Plus, it had been a long time since they last met, and it was too sudden for Lin Yi to think too much about it. But Guan Xian had misunderstood, and Lin Yi didn't have the heart to crush her confidence. He could only hold Guan Xian's hand first. Feeling Guan Xian's nervousness, Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat as well. The feelings he'd been suppressing in his heart surged up in this cold yet warm night. Lin Yi held Guan Xian's hand tightly. Some things had to be faced and some people couldn't be let go. Lin Yi didn't know what his future would be like, and he didn't know if the road ahead would be dangerous or stable. But, along the way there were bound to be some unforgettable companions. At this moment, Lin Yi thought through many things. Although there was still a huge gap between him and the Five Elements sect, Lin Yi wouldn't run away anymore. He thought of a girl he couldn't forget. He thought of the past. How was Xiaoning? Lin Yi was a little emotional. He never would have thought that one day his strength could make all the hidden houses, including the hidden house Yu, not dare to act rashly. Even 3 hidden houses had become his underlings. The leap in their strength made it so that the gap between them was no longer as insurmountable as he had imagined. But many years later things remained the same, but people changed. Although Yu Bing had told Lin Yi some information about Yu Ning, he didn't know what the situation would be like when they met again. Would he bring her disappointment when he ran away? How good would it be if life was like the first time they met? But how could the Lin Yi from back then have predicted the height he was at now? The level of the hidden houses couldn't threaten Lin Yi anymore. Chapter 26:18. Feeling the strength in Guan Xian's hand, Lin Yi snapped back to reality and sighed softly. The past was the past, the most important thing was to cherish the present. There was no point in dwelling on some things. Some people would meet again if they were fated to. Try to use your chant. Lin Yi suddenly spoke to Guan Xian. Huh? Guan Xian's eyes widened as she looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Now, you're telling me to train here? Yeah. Lin Yi nodded. Why? Guan Xian was a little puzzled. Lin Yi's suggestion was too strange. Who train while taking a stroll? I'll help you increase your strength, you're about to break through. Lin Yi said. Me? About to break through? Guan Xian was even more confused. She didn't even know that she was about to break through. How did Lin Yi know? However, because of her trust in Lin Yi, she still nodded and started to use the alchemist's chant. But in the next moment, Guan Xian's eyes widened even more. She suddenly felt a wave of pure qi flowing into her body from her wrist. It seemed to be from Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded at Guan Xian with a smile. Guan Xian was even more certain of her guess. It really was Lin Yi. Was he helping her break through? How did Lin Yi do it? Guan Xian didn't think too much about it when she hadn't come into contact with practitioners before, but now that she knew about them, she was different. She knew how hard it was to practice, and all her strength had to be leveled up bit by eating soul-gathering pills. Golden Class Late Phase Peak was the bottleneck of the soul-gathering pills, and she had to rely on herself to level up and break through, but she hadn't been able to break through for a long time. She was very surprised that Lin Yi could help her level up. Boom! Guan Xian felt her body shake, and she reached the early phase of Mystic Class. It was a little uncomfortable at the moment, but it was more of the joy and comfort that came with leveling up. She broke through to Mystic Class just like that? Guan Xian felt like she was dreaming. On Lin Yi's side, he didn't continue to help Guan Xian. Some things had to be done step by step. This time he was giving Boss Bai a heads up so that he would be mentally prepared. When the time came, it wouldn't be so sudden. I'm already a Mystic Class? Guan Xian didn't think that she would break through while she was out for a stroll. And yes. Lin Yi nodded. It's that easy? Guan Xian felt like she said the wrong thing. She thought it was easy, but Lin Yi must have spent a lot of effort to help her break through. It wasn't easy, was it? Haha, yeah, it's that easy. I'll help you when I have time in the future. Lin Yi said. It's late now, so let's stop here. I'll send you back. Send me back? Guan Xian and Lin Yi had already reached the family area. If Lin Yi sent her back, then who would be sending who? But in the next moment, Guan Xian suddenly remembered Lin Yi's words. Can I still break through in the future? Of course, Lin Yi nodded. How else do you think that Jing became a second-level alchemist? She's my classmate and she started learning alchemy when she was in university, even shorter than you, but she's already in Earth class early phase now. Guan Xian was shocked and envious of Han Jingjing. So, being with Lin Yi was the fastest way to level up. However, Lin Yi treated her the same way and helped her break through the first time they met. Guan Xian was still happy. She wasn't a girl who liked to fight for things. She liked Lin Yi and she only wanted to like him silently without asking for anything in return. Even if Lin Yi didn't want to be with her for the rest of his life, and they couldn't be a couple, she would still stand by Lin Yi's side and look at him. With him, there would be happiness. Holding hands with Lin Yi today made Guan Xian feel like she could die from happiness. But Guan Xian wasn't an idiot. Perhaps she'd been overthinking things. Maybe the reason he was holding her hand was to help her level up, and not really for the sake of holding her hand. But no matter what, it meant that Lin Yi still cared about her and Guan Xian was satisfied. Sometimes, a little bit of happiness was enough to satisfy Guan Xian. She was an easily satisfied person. As the two walked back, they ran into an awkward situation. They saw a couple kissing in the bushes nearby. The guy was groping all over the girl's body, and the girl was gasping for breath. Guan Xian blushed. Lin Yi shook his head. He didn't think that a student would be so bold as to run into a family area to date. Wasn't that just asking for a beating if they ran into his teacher? Ahem. Lin Yi coughed twice, reminding them to be mindful of their image. There were so many places to hide, but why did they have to come to the side of the road? The couple was startled by Lin Yi's coughing and quickly separated. But after they separated, something even more shocking happened. Boss. The guy was Bai Weidua, and the girl was naturally Himeiwa. The two looked up and saw Lin Yi and Guan Xian holding hands. Bai Weidua was even more shocked. Boss, when did you pick up Xian sis? Lin Yi was speechless. How could he meet Bai Weidua here? How miraculous. However, Bai Weidua's question made him even more speechless. Guan Xian and I have known each other for a long time. Why are we dating? Well, I wanted Sister Xian to follow my brother. But it's not a loss to follow boss, hee. Bai Weidua laughed. Why are you here on a date? Aren't you afraid that your grandfather will see it? Lin Yi asked. It's all because of Meiyu. She didn't want to be in school and was afraid of being seen by her classmates, so she came here. Bai Weidua shrugged. Lin Yi looked at Himeiwa suspiciously. In school, everyone seemed to know that they were dating, right? Even if she saw them kissing, it wouldn't be a big deal, right? Why did he suddenly come here? However, this was someone else's matter, and Lin Yi had no reason to interfere. He merely nodded at Himeiwa and said, Then you can continue. We'll be leaving first, but it's best if we go to a more secluded place ahead. Chapter 26-19. A chance to level up. Meiwei kept her head down and didn't say anything until Lin Yi and Guan Xan left. She glared at Bai Weidua. Look at you, I told you to go into the forest but you said it's fine here and no one passed by at night. Now someone saw us, didn't they? Lin Yi is my boss, it's fine if he saw us, right? Bai Weidua explained with a smile. //////// Meiwei frowned slightly and didn't say anything, but a hint of regret flashed across her eyes. Let's go, we'll go into the forest. Bai Weidua pulled Meiwei into the forest, but Meiwei shook her head. Forget it, I'm tired. Let's go back to the dorms and rest early. Meiwei said tiredly. Alright, let's go back then. Bai Weidua could be said to be obedient to Meiwei. He followed Meiwei to the school's dormitory building. After sending Guan Xan back, Lin Yi went home. The Miss and Shu were already asleep and Xinyan was already asleep. Xinyan's condition made Lin Yi suspicious. Xinyan seemed to like sleeping more and more, as if she didn't get enough sleep every day. Shu and the others usually went to bed around 10, and woke up around 6 the next day, but Xinyan usually went to bed around 7 or 8 after dinner, and even took an afternoon nap at noon. This was the first time Lin Yi had seen such a strange condition, but the results showed that Xinyan's body was too weak. The medicine Lin Yi brewed for her improved, but it didn't seem to have much effect. Shaking his head, Lin Yi took a shower and walked into the room. Xinyan was already fast asleep, so he didn't disturb her. He went to the bed and laid beside her, hugging her from behind. Xinyan seemed to feel Lin Yi's presence in her dream. She moved slightly, squeezing into Lin Yi's embrace. It was fine if she didn't move, but as she moved, Lin Yi's hand couldn't help but touch the softness of her breasts. He wanted to go with the flow, but Lin Yi wasn't that kind of person. He moved his hand into the jade space reluctantly. Phew. Lin Yi let out a breath of relief and continued his training. Today's battle with Xiao Yi between life and death had given him an opportunity to break through. He hadn't been at Earth Class mid-phase peak for long, but this time he felt the prelude to a breakthrough. But it was still too short, and Lin Yi didn't break through in the middle of the battle. Fortunately, he didn't break through in the middle of the battle, or else it'd be too late to save Han Jingjing. Even if Lin Yi broke through to Sky Class, it'd be too late for regrets. As a result, Lin Yi didn't feel regretful that he didn't break through during the battle. He had already grasped the opportunity to break through, and it was only a matter of time. He just needed one more opportunity, and he'd be able to break through to Earth Class late phase. Earth Class mid-phase peak or late phase, Lin Yi didn't really care. To Lin Yi, a normal Sky Class early phase could be easily killed by Lin Yi's current techniques. Even if Lin Yi was an Earth Class late phase, he'd only be able to kill a Sky Class mid-phase. This didn't mean much. What Lin Yi was looking forward to now was when his Art of Dragon Mastery would be able to complete the second stage. That way, not only would he be able to condense the space in the Jade Pendant, but he'd also be able to open the stone door of the cave. Lin Yi was now looking forward to the third stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery. It was just that the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery seemed to be only one step away from completion, but Lin Yi had been working hard for a period of time and still hadn't been able to reach that peak. This made Lin Yi understand that although the distance seemed small, it wasn't. Just like how Lin Yi had already felt the opportunity to break through to Earth Class late phase, but he hadn't felt it with the Art of Dragon Mastery. This made Lin Yi feel helpless, but he also knew that he couldn't rush it. Jiao Lao, how's that damn thing? Lin Yi turned to ask Jiao Yazi. During the day, Lin Yi wouldn't pay attention to the situation in the Jade Pendant space at all times, but Jiao Yazi was always paying attention to the situation in the space. That's not it, it's still there. It hasn't moved since it came in. Jiao Yazi said. Oh. Lin Yi nodded. After this damn thing came in, it went into a state of hibernation. Lin Yi couldn't wake it up and it didn't disturb Lin Yi's practice either. If he didn't think of it, he could just ignore it. Since it didn't move, Lin Yi didn't bother with it. The thing was, there was no point in talking to it. He couldn't ask it to leave and he couldn't communicate with it either. All he could do was let it be and let it stay here for now. Guan Xan, on the other hand, returned to Boss Bai's villa. As soon as she entered the door, she saw Boss Bai and Mistress Bai's smiling eyes. Guan Xan blushed. We bumped into Bai Weidua, so we wasted some time. Haha, we didn't ask. Why are you saying this? Boss Bai smiled. I'm happy that you can stay with Lin Yi for a while longer. You don't need to use that Bai Weidua kid as an excuse. What's he doing here instead of staying in the dorm this late at night? I really did see Bai Weidua, Guan Xan said helplessly. He and, all right, let's not talk about this anymore. Boss Bai waved his hand. Evidently he didn't care much about these things. Han Jingjing already sent Master Zhang Liju's notes. You can take a look later, and okay. Guan Xian nodded. She didn't know if she should tell Boss Bai that she had broken through to Mystic early phase. She didn't want to hide it, but did this count as Lin Yi's secret? Lin Yi didn't say whether or not she could tell Boss Bai, so Guan Xian could only hold it in for now. She'd find an excuse to say that she broke through on her own. She'd ask Lin Yi and make sure that she could tell him. With that thought, Guan Xian quickly went back to her room to read Zhang Liju's notes. Boss Bai and Mistress Bai, on the other hand, went upstairs to rest with a smile on their faces. It was a quiet night. The next morning, Lin Yi woke up early and went to Han Jingjing's villa after making breakfast. Chapter 26:20. Morning Jingjing. How did you sleep last night? Did you have any nightmares? Lin Yi asked. No, I dreamt that I went to fight monsters with Lin Yi Gitch. I slept really well. Han Jingjing didn't seem to be affected by yesterday's events at all. Jingjing, send all the information to the cloud and set a password. Even if the tablet is stolen, it'll be fine. I won't have to worry about them cracking the password. Jingjing can delete it from other apps at any time. Oh. Lin Yi didn't really understand. He only nodded and let out a sigh of relief. He was worried about Han Jingjing's emotions, but it seemed like she wasn't affected at all. Breakfast is ready. Let's go eat together. Okay. Han Jingjing nodded and went to wake up her brother Han Xiaoqiao, and went to eat with Lin Yi. Today 3 things happened in the school. The first was that the school was going to host a charity gala. This was an event that was held every year. The school consciously cultivated the love of the students. During the gala, some items would be auctioned. Some of these items were donated by students and some were donated by celebrities. However, the money from the auction would be donated according to the situation. For example, remote areas, welfare homes, orphanages, and so on. The donation targets were randomly decided by the school, but when Lin Yi heard the news, the first place that came to his mind was Yu Xiaoka's orphanage. At the school's auction, although students were the main group, there was no lack of successful graduates and socialites participating. Although the number of these people was not large, it was not a small number. There weren't many of them, but the amount of money they donated was much more than the students. Especially in a provincial city like Donghai, these celebrities' donations were usually in the millions. So, the total amount of money raised by the charity gala was quite sizable. So Lin Yi had an idea. For this kind of thing Lin Yi could only ask Boss Bai. Considering his special position in the school, Lin Yi thought that he should be able to put in a good word for him, right? As expected, after Boss Bai received Lin Yi's call, he agreed readily. Okay, I understand. I'll suggest it to the school. It wasn't a big problem. I can't give you the money for your own use, but I can donate it to the orphanage. After all, I was planning to donate the money to someone in need. Thank you, Teacher Bai. After what happened yesterday, the relationship between Lin Yi and Boss Bai had gotten a lot closer. Now that Boss Bai had agreed to help, in that case, there shouldn't be much of a problem. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. Boss Bai smiled and said indifferently. The second thing was that Zhao Qibing's floating cloud bar had opened near the school. Su Jiaonong found some students and started distributing flyers in the school. Lin Yi received one as well. Qibing's action surprised Lin Yi. This guy was actually trying to get close to him? Aren't you afraid of getting beaten up? The third thing was that Pinliang was back. But this time he kept a low profile as he went back to school. He didn't challenge Lin Yi, nor did he challenge Lin Yi directly. Instead, he went to register with Xiaofu as usual and went to class as usual. Although Lin Yi heard the news, the two didn't do anything. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't cause trouble for them. He was happy with the peace. After the first class, Lin Yi called Yu Xiaoka, planning to ask her about the orphanage. Yu Xiaoka had quite a headache recently. There was a saying that went like this. The orphanage was now famous, and the new building was very beautiful and practical. As a result, the number of orphans had increased a lot. Especially the sick orphans. They were sent to Yu Xiaoka's orphanage from hospitals all over the country. It couldn't be helped. Some poor people had children and the children were sick. They didn't have money to treat them, so they could only leave them in the hospital. The parents couldn't be blamed for this. They had no choice. As far as they were concerned, if there was a kind-hearted person or the orphanage, the child might be able to live. But if they couldn't be treated and brought home, they would die. However, this kind of sick orphan was rarely adopted. Even if those infertile couples adopted children, they would adopt healthy ones. Who would adopt a sick baby? And so, the monthly medical expenses became the second biggest expense after the orphanage's construction and food. And it was increasing every day. Yu Xiaoka couldn't just ignore the sick abandoned babies, could she? She wouldn't be Yu Xiaoka if she was that cruel. And so, Xiaoka was willing to lower the standard of food for the children in the orphanage just to save up the medical fees for these children. At this moment, Yu Xiaoka was thinking about accepting missions from the thief's door. She couldn't find one that was suitable. The ones with too much money were too dangerous or they were unrealistic. The simple ones were too little money and they wasted a lot of time. Yu Xiaoka really didn't know what to choose. Lin Yi's call came in and Xiaoka was already a little annoyed. She didn't want to pick up the phone when she saw her admirer's call, but Lin Yi was her savior, and it wouldn't be right if she didn't pick it up. She had no choice but to pick it up. Hello? Lin Yi, you're looking for me? Oh, I'm just asking. How's the orphanage? Do we have enough money? Lin Yi frowned when he heard the bad tone in Yu Xiaoka's voice. What was wrong with Yu Xiaoka? Did she eat gunpowder? Did she have this attitude every time he saw her? It's fine. You don't have to worry about the money. I'll take care of it myself. Yu Xiaoka said coldly. I'm ready to accept a mission from the thief's door. It's hard, but if I do it well, I'll get 10 million. You're going to accept a mission from the thief's door again? Lin Yi paused. He was about to say that he hadn't learned his lesson from last time. But then he realized that his identity was Lin Yi, not the male thief. How would he know about the tomb robbery? Yu Xiaoka only mentioned the mission to him, but she didn't tell him the details. Lin Yi quickly changed his words. The missions there are very hard, right? It's hard even for me. If you go, you'll be at a disadvantage. I don't need your concern. Yu Xiaoka didn't know why, but she was unhappy whenever Lin Yi cared about her. Chapter 2631, Charity Dinner. She felt that Lin Yi had ulterior motives towards her. She tried her best to distance herself from Lin Yi. What should I do if I don't accept the mission? You really don't know the cost of daily necessities unless you're in charge. Every day the orphanage receives many sick abandoned babies from all over the country. Just the medical fees for these abandoned babies is a huge expense. What should I do if I don't take on missions? I see. Lin Yi didn't expect the orphanage to be so big. He didn't want Yu Xiaoka to be too tired. Don't make it hard for yourself. I'll help you think of a solution. Other than Fatty Lie's investment, I'll help you think of solutions. In a few days our school will have a charity dinner. There'll be an auction to raise money. I've already told my teacher that all the money will be donated to your orphanage. Donated to me? Yu Xiaoka paused. Then she was happy. But after the happiness, her eyes flashed with deep worry. Lin Yi was too generous with his help. She couldn't believe that Lin Yi was helping the orphanage just for the sake of it. Even if he was a philanthropist, there was no need for him to do this, right? Unless she was a staff member of the orphanage like Yu Xiaoka, wouldn't she? In fact, Lin Yi wasn't so naive. Lin Yi did this because of the other male thief's identity. However, Yu Xiaoka didn't know about these things. And the money this time should be quite a lot. According to my teacher, the charity dinner every year can raise at least 10 million, up to 100 million. So, forget about that thief's door mission. Lin Yi said. How old are you? You should enjoy life and do things that are appropriate for a girl your age. What should a girl my age do? Yu Xiaoka didn't understand. She really didn't know what she should do at her age. Ever since she grew up, she had been running around for the orphanage. She didn't know what she should do. For example, go shopping, do beauty treatments, buy some pretty clothes. Lin Yi thought about it and told Yu Xiaoka what the Miss and Shu often did. Yu Xiaoka was speechless. Do you think I'm a Miss Perfect? Where would I get the money? I'll give it to you, Lin Yi said. Goodbye. Yu Xiaoka was so angry that she almost threw the phone. If it weren't for the fact that she had to buy a new phone, she would have thrown it out already. But she still hung up on Lin Yi angrily. You're finally showing your true colors? You're giving me money? You want me to go shopping and buy clothes? Isn't that the same as protecting me? I finally know what you're thinking. You really are interested in me. But what should I do? What should I do? If Lin Yi really was interested in her, could she reject him? If she rejected him, what if he stopped collecting money for the orphanage? But she couldn't betray the male thief. If she hadn't met the male thief, Xiaoka wouldn't have been so against him. It wasn't easy to find someone with the ability to pay for the orphanage's expenses, and it wasn't a bad idea to be taken care of by him. For the sake of the orphanage's children, she could accept it. But now Yu Xiaoka had someone else in her heart and her thoughts had changed. She was very against the meaning that Lin Yi revealed. This is so annoying. What should I do? Yu Xiaoka was troubled. She couldn't reject the temptation of Lin Yi's money, but she didn't want anything to happen between her and Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't look like an idiot who didn't want anything in return. So, Yu Xiaoka knew that if she kept owing him more and more, she would be in big trouble. She'd be in big trouble. Forget it, he'd just muddle through and deal with what was in front of him first. He hadn't responded to Lin Yi directly, and it was his business if he was willing to give the money. He'd just have to reject the offer if it came out in the open. It wasn't like he'd ask for the money back, could he? The male thief was the best. He gave her so much money and good stuff without asking for anything in return. He was so much better than Lin Yi. If Lin Yi knew what Yu Xiaoka was thinking, he'd probably be depressed. How much did the male thief give her? His identity as Lin Yi gave her more than 10 times what the male thief gave her. But at this moment, Lin Yi looked at the phone in his hand curiously. What was wrong with Yu Xiaoka? Did she just hang up and say goodbye? And she seemed to be going berserk? He just asked her to go shopping. Did she have to do this? Could it be that she hated shopping? Lin Yi shook his head, but he didn't call Yu Xiaoka again. He told her everything he needed to, and when the money from the auction came out, he just donated to the orphanage. After class at noon, Boss Bai took care of this matter. He directed the donation to the Songshan orphanage and announced the details of the charity party in front of the whole class. This Friday night, our school will be hosting an annual charity party. Boss Bai said. I think a lot of students have already seen the news on the school's forum. As for the details, I still need to go into it. The charity party is divided into 2 parts. The first part is the auction. The so-called auction is for everyone to donate some auction items and put them up for auction. There is no specific type of auction item, anything is fine, but it has to be something worthy, otherwise it might not pass the audit. This is a voluntary donation. There are no special requirements. The people who will be participating in the auction are students like us, along with some alumni from previous years, teachers, and celebrities from the society. Everyone is willing to bid, and all the money from the auction will be donated to the orphanage. The second part is a voluntary donation. There are no restrictions on the amount of money you can donate. As for the third segment, it's a masquerade ball. However, there's a limit to the conditions for participation. Only those who have donated and successfully traded items in the previous auctions, or those who have successfully bid for the items, can participate. Chapter 26-21. FF37, FF18, XFF33. FF23, OMU 85C0F, 8BF4, 66F4, 65B0, 6700, 5 February, 5C0F, 8BF4, 9605, 8BFB, 7F51, but it must be within the other party's ability and it doesn't violate moral laws. If it's ambiguous and the recognized party is unwilling to execute it, they can appeal to the school or me. The school or me will decide whether this matter can be done or not. However, if the guess is wrong, it's the opposite. The party who guessed wrong must agree to a condition of the guest party. The condition is the same as before, within the scope of the guest party's ability. So, those who want to guess randomly won't have a chance. After the students sitting in the classroom heard about the masquerade party, they were very excited. This was the first time they participated in this kind of activity. They had seen this activity on the school's BBS forum before. It was very interesting, and the things they were asked to do were also very strange. For example, dancing in the cafeteria, eating instant noodles in the toilet, and so on. Of course, there were some people who had wishful thinking and made a request to push down the goddess they admired, but they were rejected decisively. Even if they appealed to the school, it wouldn't be supported. However, the conditions to participate were a bit of a headache. They must have donated something, successfully traded, or bought an auction item. Fortunately, Boss Bai, a student majoring in medicine, wasn't poor. It wasn't difficult for him to take out some auction items or bid for an auction item. On the other hand, they couldn't participate even if they donated directly. Otherwise, they could participate in the masquerade party by simply donating 100 or 200 yuan. In fact, this direct donation session was prepared for some students who wanted to show their love but didn't have enough money. 1 or 2 yuan wasn't a problem. Although they couldn't participate in the masquerade party, it was still a kind gesture. Or those entrepreneurs who didn't want to be troubled, they wouldn't participate in the auction. Instead, they would donate hundreds of thousands or even millions just to save trouble. After all, their time was precious, and they didn't have the time to participate in a masquerade party. At noon after school, everyone began to get busy with the charity party. However, Yu Coiling Tiger was very depressed. He had already received the news from old Yu about the Heavenly Elixir sect. He didn't get the alchemy information from Han Jingjing, and with Boss Bai's protection, outsiders couldn't intervene. Therefore, the heavy burden of exchanging information with Han Jingjing fell on you, Coiling Tiger again. How were they supposed to change it? You can't snatch it here, so you want me to go exchange for it? What if Han Jingjing and Lin Yi suspect me and kill me? However, since it was a mission from Grandpa, right, Coiling Tiger couldn't refuse, so he pretended not to know that Han Jingjing had been robbed before. That placed the Five Elements sect. Patriarch Black Earth frowned as he looked at Little One and Little 11. Little 11, are you sure that Han Jingjing is dead? Yes, Master. In front of outsiders, Little 11 called Xian Chen Master. Only a few people knew that she was Xian Chen's daughter. I broke all the meridians in Han Jingjing's body. Her breasts and uterus exploded. If it weren't for the small reversion pill, she would have died. If he still had a breath left, he would have died long ago. Then why did they say that Han Jingjing is fine? He can still go to school today? Patriarch Xianchen asked curiously, is that possible? Han Jingjing is fine? She can still go to school? Little 11 was stunned after hearing this. How is that possible? At that time, her injuries were comparable to Taganlong's. If Boss Bai went and had a way to save her life, I would believe it. But if he said that she was saved, I don't believe it. Could it be that Boss Bai has a top-grade 4th-grade Great Huan pill in his hands? Oh. Patriarch Xianchen frowned. A top-grade 4th-grade Great Huan pill. In that case, it's really possible. Boss Bai can indeed refine 4th-grade pills at his peak, although he's crippled now. But it's hard to say that he doesn't have any stock. But why doesn't he eat it himself? His injuries were caused by qi deviation and the flow of true qi in reverse. It may be different from normal injuries caused by external forces, right? Little One thought for a moment and said, or his meridians have already recovered, but his level of alchemy hasn't recovered. Otherwise, after so many years, according to common sense, his meridians are all broken, and he hasn't practiced external body refining. Even if he's not dead, he should be half paralyzed. How could he be fine? Little One, you're right. Maybe Boss Bai has already recovered, but his strength can't recover. Patriarch Xianchen nodded in realization and said, this old thing has hidden quite well. If the two of you hadn't guessed it, I would still be in the dark. Yes, but in order to save Taganlong, he should agree to donate a top-grade 4th-grade Great Huan pill, right? Little One asked. Let me ask. Who knows what this old thing is thinking? Patriarch Xianchen shook his head and dialed Boss Bai's number. Boss Bai didn't expect Patriarch Xianchen to call him again. He didn't know what it was, but he still picked it up. But this time he was already on guard against Patriarch Xianchen. He knew that Patriarch Xianchen had the ambition of a wolf after all, and he would only suffer losses if he was too kind. Xianchen, what's the matter? Boss Bai's voice was very indifferent, as if yesterday's events had never happened. Eldest senior brother, is Han Jingjing okay? I'm really sorry about what happened yesterday. I was worried all night. If anything happens to Han Jingjing, I will definitely not let Little One and Little 11 off easily. Patriarch Xianchen said hypocritically. You should already know that Han Jingjing is fine by asking this, right? Boss Bai's heart shuddered, but his tone was still so calm. Your news is quite fast. It seems that you have been paying attention to me. Haha, I'm just worried about you, eldest senior brother. Patriarch Xianchen said with a smile. Senior brother, congratulations on your meridians. What do you mean? Boss Bai's heart shuddered again, but he still asked calmly. Han Jingjing's injuries are so serious, but she's as good as before. If it's not the effect of the top-grade 4th-grade Great Huan pill, what is it? Patriarch Xianchen smiled slightly and said, I didn't expect eldest senior brother to still have some in stock. Even Han Jingjing can take the top-grade 4th-grade Great Huan pill. Of course you have taken it yourself. Oh. Boss Bai thought to himself. It turned out that Patriarch Xianchen had misunderstood. However, were Han Jingjing's injuries really that serious? But since it was so serious, how did Lin Yi heal her? Yesterday, Boss Bai didn't carefully examine Han Jingjing's injuries. He just looked at her appearance and felt that Han Jingjing's injuries were not light, but they were all superficial injuries. FF37, W03C9, 30FB, Off 4D. Chapter 26-22. Boss Bai's goal, he did not expect that Han Jingjing's meridians were also seriously damaged. At this time, after listening to Patriarch Xuanchen's words, he realized that even a great recovery pill would not work on Han Jingjing's injuries. Only a top-grade 4th-grade great recovery pill would work. However, Boss Bai did not refute Patriarch Xuanchen's words. If he did, it would be equivalent to exposing Lin Yi. By then, with Patriarch Xuanchen's character, he would definitely capture Lin Yi as a guinea pig for research, so Boss Bai gave an ambiguous, "Oh. Eldest senior brother, you also know about Taganlong's injuries. A third-grade great recovery pill can only save his life, but it can't heal his injuries. Since you have a stock of top-grade fourth-grade great recovery pill, can you contribute one to the sect?" Patriarch Xianxin asked carefully. "After all, you also know the usefulness of Taganlong, so if he can recover, it will be quite important." "Oh, but unfortunately there's no more." Boss Bai said lightly. "There was originally one last pill. If you had said it earlier, I would have given it to Taganlong, but my disciple is injured, so I will definitely give it to my disciple first. So, sorry, there's no other way. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame little 11 for being too vicious. Without a top-grade fourth-grade great recovery pill, he can't be saved." This. Patriarch Xianxin did not expect Boss Bai to say this, and he did not know what to say. However, he still did not believe it and did not give up, so he continued to persuade, "Eldest senior brother, this is a major event of our sect in the past 1,000 years. Let our sect return to the level of the primordial times and stand shoulder to shoulder with those primordial sections. This is the ultimate goal of our ancestors. As the leader of this generation, you must support this plan, right? Compared to our personal grievances and the sect's major events, you should be able to make the right choice as the leader, right? If I have more, I will definitely take it out. Don't worry, I will do it even if you don't say it." Boss Bai still said lightly, "I know my identity better than you. I am the leader of the Five Elements sect. I want the Five Elements sect to return to the level of the primordial sects and return to the Heaven Stage Island, even if it means death. Because this is also my lifelong goal. Unfortunately, I really don't have it anymore. I'll refine it after I recover my strength." This. Patriarch Xianxin frowned. Although he didn't really believe it, he knew Boss Bai's character. Since Boss Bai said so, it was probably true. So he could only say, "Alright then, let's do that for now. If I successfully refine a fourth-grade top-grade great recover pill, I will contact you." Boss Bai said calmly. After hanging up the phone, Patriarch Xianxin frowned and felt a little regretful. It seems that finding trouble with Han Jingjing and Lin Yi this time was a bad move. If I could contact Boss Bai first, maybe he would give Taganlong the top-grade fourth-grade great recover pill. With his feelings for the sect, he would definitely agree. So I took the wrong step. Master, don't be too sad. Since Boss Bai's injuries have healed, maybe he can refine a fourth-grade elixir. Besides, isn't second Uncle Master Xuanzhen also trying to break through to the fourth-grade alchemist? Little one comforted. And that's true. Patriarch Xianxin nodded. After Boss Bai hung up the phone, he fell into contemplation and shock. Lin Yi actually cured Han Jingjing's serious injuries. How did he do it? Boss Bai suddenly remembered what Lin Yi said and asked him in his study last night. Lin Yi said at that time that if Boss Bai's injuries recovered and Patriarch Xianxin knew what would happen, Boss Bai thought that Lin Yi was just joking, but now it seemed that it was not the case. Lin Yi should really have the ability to recover his injuries. A glimmer of hope and excitement flashed in Boss Bai's eyes. Is my guess true? Can Lin Yi really do it? Boss Bai faintly looked forward to it. However, Boss Bai did not immediately call Lin Yi to ask about this. Instead, he fell into contemplation about the future. Now, unavoidably, Lin Yi had already been involved in this future dispute of the sect. Whether Boss Bai was willing or not, the mark of Lin Yi's disciple had already been imprinted on Xianxin. If he recovered his strength, then naturally he could intimidate Xianxin. But what if he couldn't? Once the Heavenly Island plan was launched, the Five Elements sect would return to the level of the ancient sects and regain the glory of the past. At that time, would the arrogant Xianxin make a move on him or even Lin Yi and Han Jingjing again? But how could he solve this situation? Boss Bai thought for a long time and couldn't come up with a good solution. In the end, everything was because Boss Bai's current strength was not enough, but this was a weakness that couldn't be changed. Right Coiling Tiger decided to talk to Lin Yi and Han Jingjing again and see if he could get the special notes from Han Jingjing. But he definitely couldn't bring up Zhang Liju's refiner's notes. Right Coiling Tiger was often tricked by Lin Yi, but that didn't mean he was an idiot. On the contrary, he was just a little stupid in front of Lin Yi, but he was still a little smart in normal times. On one hand, he really was in a hurry to get the things in Lin Yi's hands. Sometimes there was nothing he could do about being tricked. On the other hand, Lin Yi was famous for being able to kill Sky-class masters in one hit. Right Coiling Tiger was a little scared when he faced him, and naturally, his brain short-circuited. Especially when he heard that this time, a Sky-class late-phase peak master couldn't even kill Lin Yi. Right Coiling Tiger was even more shocked. Although Boss Bai had intervened, that was also because of Lin Yi's own strength. Otherwise, before Boss Bai could intervene, Lin Yi would already be dead. Who would have thought that an Earth-class mid-phase peak would be able to last so long against a Sky-class late-phase peak master? In fact, even Lin Yi himself didn't expect it, but sometimes things were just that coincidental. A chi bomb saved Lin Yi, and this was something that even little Yi himself didn't understand. So, if Right Coiling Tiger mentioned Zhang Liju's notes, then Lin Yi would definitely ask him how he knew about this. If he connected it with little E and little 11, then Right Coiling Tiger would be screwed. He might even be beaten to death. Chapter 26-23. Chapter 26-34. Searching for an opportunity. Most refiners had this habit, including Right Coiling Tiger himself. These notes were the refiner's own understanding towards elixir making. Han Jingjing looked at Zhang Liju's notes and combined it with her own experience. The notes were pretty much the same as Zhang Liju's notes. At the very least, it could increase the success rate of second-level elixir making. To the Hidden House youth, this was very valuable information. With that thought, Right Coiling Tiger made up his mind to exchange Han Jingjing's notes. At that moment, Right Coiling Tiger's phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Zhao Qibing. He didn't think much and picked up. Hello? Master Bing, what's up? Second young master, are you forgetful? Did you forget what you promised me? It's been a few days and there's still no news? Zhao Qibing asked anxiously. What's been a few days? What did I promise? Right Coiling Tiger was thinking about how to get Han Jingjing's notes in the afternoon and was stunned by Zhao Qibing's question. Fuck, you didn't really forget, did you? Zhao Qibing quickly said, about the broken leg, when are you going to create an opportunity for me to break my leg? Broken leg. Right Coiling Tiger suddenly remembered that he still owed Zhao Qibing such a thing. Originally he thought that it was a simple matter. Asking Lin Yi to break Zhao Qibing's leg was as easy as lifting a finger, but Lin Yi refused. However, Right Coiling Tiger forgot about it after that and only remembered it when Zhao Qibing asked him. In fact, if he wanted to deny it, Zhao Qibing couldn't do anything. After all, there was no signature and no evidence. But this wasn't good for his reputation and even the Hidden House Yu's reputation. If Zhao Qibing was a normal person, then so be it, but he was the heir of the Hidden House Yu. Right Coiling Tiger couldn't just ignore what he said. Yes, Second Master Yu, I'm begging you, can you do this? Qibing panicked when he heard Tiger Yu's tone. I said, I searched the entire city when you lost your phone and now I found it for you. You can't just do something for me right now. Of course I'll do it. Right Coiling Tiger frowned. But do you really have to ask Lin Yi for this? Why don't you just find someone to break your legs? Can't you break anyone's leg? The others aren't as good as Lin Yi. What if I break it? My life would be over. Qibing denied it right away. Plus, it has to be a master stronger than me, or else I'll subconsciously use my chi to protect myself, and I can't control my chi as I please. Unless you can catch me off guard and break my leg, you can only do it if you're stronger than me. Why is it so complicated? Right Coiling Tiger felt that it was very troublesome, but what Zhao Qibing said made sense. Practitioners would subconsciously use their chi to protect themselves when they were in danger. It was like a sandstorm. Normal people would subconsciously close their eyes. It was an instinct unless it was a sneak attack. But for a sneak attack, one had to be very agile. At the very least, it had to be someone with qigong. Normal practitioners didn't even have the movement skills of a professional assassin. Practitioners usually fought head-on and rarely used sneak attacks. Of course, people like Lin Yi were different in the world of practitioners. He was fast, an assassin, and an expert in sneak attacks. Most importantly, he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, using a sneak attack against a stronger practitioner. This was the reason why he was successful. After all, which high-level practitioner would let a low-level practitioner go? Logically speaking, even if a Sky class were to stand still and let an Earth class attack them, they wouldn't be able to kill them. Hence, there was no need for a sneak attack at all. This was also the reason why Lin Yi's opponents were all dead. It's not complicated. Can you help me think of a way? Zhao Qibing heard Right Coiling Tiger's tone and knew that the kid was trying to escape. He quickly said, I say, Second Master Yu, we're both people with statuses. You can't go back on your words. Of course not. Right Coiling Tiger said, I've been looking for a chance for you, haven't I? You know how troublesome Lin Yi is. Normal people wouldn't be able to handle him. I'm helping you take a roundabout route. Have you thought of a good idea? Zhao Qibing thought that Right Coiling Tiger was being perfunctory. Naturally, he didn't believe him. It's like this. Our school will be hosting a charity gala in a few days. It's like this. Right Coiling Tiger explained the details of the charity gala to Zhao Qibing. You're saying that you want me to participate in this charity gala, right? Then I'll go to that masquerade ball and recognize Lin Yi. Make him promise me one thing, and that is to break my legs? Zhao Qibing understood what Right Coiling Tiger was trying to say. Yes, that's it. Lin Yi will definitely be there. This is a good chance. Right Coiling Tiger was interrupted by Zhao Qibing. Wait, as far as I know, Lin Yi doesn't want to participate in this kind of event, right? Even if he does participate in the auction, it's a masquerade ball. I don't think he'll join in the fun, right? With Zhao Qibing's understanding of Lin Yi wasn't someone who liked to join in the fun. It was normal for him not to participate in the masquerade ball. You don't know about this, do you? According to my insider information, the donation target is Songshan's orphanage, and this suggestion was made by Lin Yi. Right Coiling Tiger said, Boss Bai has already arranged it for him, so Lin Yi will definitely attend this gala. He has to give Boss Bai face, or else Boss Bai would have helped him for nothing. Chapter 26-24. I'll look into it and think about it. I'll give you a plan that will allow you to recognize Lin Yi right away. Yu Coiling Tiger said. Don't worry, since I've promised you, I'll help you to the end. That's more like it. Zhao Qibing nodded. Then I'll wait for your good news. All right, I'll take care of it for you, Yu Coiling Tiger said. But you need to prepare yourself, sign up for the auction as a caring merchant. Buy anything you want and get the qualification to attend the masquerade ball. That's not a problem, Zhao Qibing replied quickly. I'll go sign up in a bit. In the afternoon, the school began to prepare for the charity auction. All the faculties were on break, and the students were free to donate items for the auction. The other students could also study in the classroom. Lin Yi was in the middle of practicing when Coiling Tiger Right sat down beside Han Jingjing again. Lin Yi quickly exited his practicing state and turned his head to look at Coiling Tiger Right. Han Jingjing's attack was most likely due to Coiling Tiger Right leaking the news, but Lin Yi didn't feel any hatred towards a dog like Coiling Tiger Right. His hatred was mainly focused on 11th. What do you want? Han Jingjing closed the tablet warily and looked at Yu Coiling Tiger. Han Jingjing, you're a second-level refiner now? Trying to break through to third level? Yu Coiling Tiger tried to find something to talk about. What do you want? Han Jingjing didn't answer Yu Coiling Tiger's question directly. It's nothing, you don't need to hide it from me. I know the ingredients I gave you. You're asking for third-level cauldrons and ingredients for third-level elixirs now, so you must be at the peak of second-level refiner already. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to break through to third level, right? Yu Coiling Tiger said. What does that have to do with you? Han Jingjing asked. It's nothing, didn't Teacher Bai say that students should help each other? You're a second-level refiner, so you must have a lot of experience in alchemy, right? Did you take notes on your tablet? Upon who you knew it was useless to beat around the bush with Han Jingjing. In the end, Lin Yi was the one who made the final decision, so he deliberately raised his voice so that Lin Yi could hear him. Why don't you lend me your notes? No, Han Jingjing said straightforwardly. Right Coiling Tiger was speechless, but it was within his expectations. Then how can you lend it to me? What do you want this time? This time? I didn't ask for anything. Han Jingjing was stunned. Then he said, it seems like you took the initiative to find me? Brother Lin Yi. Right Coiling Tiger seems to have a problem with his head. Can you treat him? Really? Let me see. Lin Yi turned around and reached out to touch the head of the Coiling Tiger. Don't touch me. Right Coiling Tiger jumped in fright. His body leaned back, but because he used too much force, he directly fell to the ground with a loud bang. Fortunately, he was a cultivator, so he was fine. It was just that he looked a little disheveled. There really is a problem. Why is there such a big reaction? Lin Yi looked at Right Coiling Tiger inexplicably. Nothing. I'm fine. Maybe I didn't sleep well last night? Right Coiling Tiger randomly made up an excuse and got up from the ground. Then he said, Lin Yi, Han Jingjing's notes. Do you want to exchange it? Right Coiling Tiger was afraid that Lin Yi would come to treat him again, so he quickly changed the topic. There was no problem with his head at all. He was afraid that if he was treated by Lin Yi, he would become a fool again. There was a precedent for this. Previously, the blue-haired man was turned into an idiot by Lin Yi. Right Coiling Tiger had to be careful. You still want to exchange? But I don't have anything else I need. Lin Yi spread his hands. He said regretfully. No. Right Coiling Tiger thought about it and agreed. Last time when he exchanged for Boss Bai's master's information, he already took out most of his assets, except for what Lin Yi didn't need. There really wasn't anything else. If he took it out, it would be the same things repeatedly. Right Coiling Tiger could only say, Why don't you think about it again and see what you lack? I don't seem to lack anything except for some money, Linny said. I want to donate some money to the Songshan orphanage, but I'm a bit short on cash. Right Coiling Tiger thought, are you asking me to donate? But if I donate, what if you don't give me the information? But Right Coiling Tiger still asked, how much money do you lack? About 8 million, Linny said. You mean you want me to donate about 8 million? Right Coiling Tiger frowned. Although 8 million wasn't a lot, it couldn't be wasted, right? This amount of money really wasn't much for the hidden Wright family that ran the pill business. Moreover, Right Coiling Tiger didn't need to pay for it himself. He could just ask for it from home. Let me think about it. I didn't ask you to donate. Linny shook his head. You go back first. I'll tell you after I think about it. That's fine, but you have to be quick. Right Coiling Tiger nodded and said. After Right Coiling Tiger left, Han Jingjing asked Lin Yi in a low voice, Linny Gidge, do you really want to exchange information with him? No, but we can do this like this and this. Lin Yi lowered his voice and said a few words to Han Jingjing. And then, Han Jingjing nodded quickly after listening and said, okay, Jingjing understands. Right Coiling Tiger didn't have the ability to read lips and he was far away. He couldn't clearly see what Lin Yi said. Moreover, Lin Yi used voice condensed chi. Other than Han Jingjing, no one else could hear it at all. However, Right Coiling Tiger didn't think too much about it. He thought that Lin Yi was discussing with Han Jingjing about exchanging information with him. Seeing that Lin Yi took it to heart, he was quite happy. The student union had already started planning for the charity gala. According to past practices, the host and staff would be chosen from the freshmen. The purpose of this was to give the freshman members of the student union a chance to train. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Yushu would be one of the hosts. There were 3 hosts, 1 male and 2 female. Lin Yi didn't know the other girl, but the guy was a trap. He didn't know how the student council chose the hosts. After the photos of the hosts were posted on the campus forum, Lin Yi thought that it was 3 girls. Chapter 26-25. After school, Lin Yi waited for the Miss and Shu to get in the car and asked curiously, Shu, how did you become the host? Because Yao Yao's auction item is too special. If I'm not the host, there'll be problems if someone else auctions it. Yushu said. What item? Lin Yi paused. It's not some first kiss or something, is it? Wow, Shield Bro, you're amazing. You're even better than Genius Shu. You guessed it right away? Yushu's eyes widened in surprise. But it's not my first kiss, I gave it to Shield Bro a long time ago. Ahem, Shu, can you get to the point? If you continue with this nonsense, I won't cooperate with you anymore. Meng Yao glared at Yushu, stopping her from continuing. However, Xinyan and Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi and Meng Yao strangely. Xinyan was too embarrassed to ask, but Han Jingjing didn't avoid it. Lin Yi bro, have you and Yao Yao been together for a long time? It's just a drink. Lin Yi explained. I see. Han Jingjing saw that there was no more gossip, so she stopped asking. However, Meng Yao felt slightly relieved and disappointed at the same time. She didn't know why, but she felt like she was misunderstood. She didn't feel happy after Lin Yi explained it clearly. But is it still Yao Yao's kiss this time? Shu, are you trying to trick Zhong Pingliang again? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Zhong Pingliang came back to school. Although he kept a low profile, Lin Yi still heard about him. He's so rich, of course I'm going to trick him, Yushu said. Alright, Shu, I wouldn't be messing around with you if it wasn't for the sake of the orphanage. Let's go home, I'm hungry, Meng Yao explained. She didn't know who she was explaining to, but she felt that it was a good thing. She didn't know who she was talking to, but she felt that it was to Lin Yi. Realization dawned on Lin Yi. No wonder Meng Yao was messing around with Yushu. It was because of the orphanage. As for kissing, Lin Yi didn't care. With Shu around, Miss wouldn't be at a disadvantage. After returning home, Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao returned to Lin Yi's villa after having dinner. Han Jingjing was busy with the mission Lin Yi gave her, and Yushu on the other hand came over to Lin Yi mysteriously. Shield bro, what? You don't have to be so secretive in your own home? Lin Yi couldn't help but find it funny when he saw Xiao Shu tiptoeing around. That's true. Yushu giggled. Shield bro, do you have something that makes the skin red and swollen quickly when it comes in contact with the skin? The more overbearing, the better. What are you doing? Lin Yi asked curiously. Of course it's useful. Yushu said, is it useful or not? I do have it. But why do you want it? Lin Yi didn't know what Yushu wanted. To protect Yao Yao's chastity, of course. If you want to turn Yao Yao into a second-hand one, then pretend I didn't say anything. Yushu said. Then you won't be the only man who kissed Yao Yao. Shu, what are you talking about? Meng Yao and Xin Yan picked up the plates and came out of the kitchen. Yushu said that she was a second-hand one, and that she was kissed by Lin Yi. She was furious. Do you want to get beaten up? Yao Yao, I'm trying to help you. Yushu didn't expect Meng Yao to come out at this time. Help me? I don't need your help with Lin Yi in my business. Meng Yao blushed. Go do what you're supposed to do. If you stick your nose into other people's business, I'll let Lin Yi turn you into a second-hand one. Wah! Yushu froze. She looked at Meng Yao blankly. After a while she said, Yao Yao, did you misunderstand? Misunderstand what? Misunderstand your ass. Aren't you trying to get me and Lin Yi together again? You're even asking him to turn me into a second-hand one? Meng Yao was even angrier when she heard that Yushu not only didn't admit it, but was even trying to deny it. She couldn't blame her for misunderstanding. Meng Yao came out of the kitchen. She only heard half of the conversation. She wasn't a practitioner and her hearing wasn't that good. If Shu didn't speak a little louder, she wouldn't have heard it at all. She couldn't hear it clearly, so she could only guess. But what did Shu say about turning her into a second-hand one and letting Lin Yi kiss her? Didn't that mean she wanted Lin Yi to push her down? How could Meng Yao not be angry? They could talk about this in private. Why would she tell Lin Yi directly? Ugh. Yushu paused for a while. Yao Yao, you really do like Shield bro, you wouldn't be feeling guilty otherwise. Shu was saying that she was afraid that after Pinliang kissed you, you'd become second-hand and Shield bro wouldn't like it anymore, but you heard it as if she wanted Shield bro to... Yushu was chased up the stairs by Meng Yao, and Xin Yan, on the other hand, was covering her mouth with a smile. The longer she stayed here, the more joy she'd come to realize. Hee, Xin Yan, Yao Yao and Shu are easy to get along with. Are you used to this place? Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. MHM not bad. Yao Yao and Shu are both nice to me. They don't seem like outsiders. Xin Yan smiled, a little envious. They're still a little polite to me though. After all, how long have I known them? It's not as deep as the relationship between the two of them. I want to participate in a fight like this, but I don't have the chance. That's true, but you'll get used to it. Lin Yi said. You're already a lot better than me. When I first came here they didn't like me at all, always wanting to kick me out. Ah? No way? Xin Yan was a little surprised after hearing Lin Yi's words. She said in disbelief. They seem to care about you a lot, don't they? They didn't like you at all at first, even wanting to kick you out? Hee, actually, when we met on the train I had just arrived at Songshan. I was ordered by an elder to protect them. Lin Yi hadn't mentioned this to Xin Yan before, but now was the perfect time to bring it up. When I, a man, moved into their villa, no one would welcome me. Chapter 26. If it weren't for the fact that Xin Yan could feel Lin Yi's physiological reactions and the rapid breathing when he hugged her to sleep, she would have thought that there was something wrong with Lin Yi's sexual orientation. But the more it was like that, the more Xin Yan felt that Lin Yi was a good guy. It was hard for a guy his age to not have something going on if he had to share a bed with a girl every day. So sometimes, Xin Yan even felt that Lin Yi wasn't from the same world as them. Lin Yi was really a first-year student, but the calmness he showed sometimes was beyond his age. Xin Yan couldn't help but chuckle as she recalled how he dressed up the first time they met on the train. Oh right, no wonder they're rejecting you. You were dressed like a country bumpkin when you first came here, it's already good enough that they'd let you into their villa. Haha. Lin Yi shrugged and said helplessly, my hometown is a small village. It's normal for me to dress like a country bumpkin. If I dressed like this, people would probably stare at me every day. I just came from my hometown and I didn't have time to change. Yeah, I thought you were just an honest country bumpkin back then, and I was worried to death when I saw you getting scammed by those scammers. Who would have thought that you were just faking it? Xin Yan said, a little fascinated as she recalled the first time she met Lin Yi. Actually, if they didn't lie to me, I wouldn't bother to lie to them. Lin Yi said. That's true. Xin Yan thought of Lin Yi's personality and agreed. She wanted to say something, but a wave of sleepiness hit her. She yawned and turned to Lin Yi. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's go to bed. I'm a little tired. Okay, you go first. I'll give Shu some medicine. Lin Yi didn't forget about the strange medicine Yushu asked for. Lin Yi didn't even have to ask to know that it was most likely for Pinliang. It was true that Pinliang was unlucky every time, but the more he suffered, the braver he became. He was even accepted as a disciple by an ancient sect? Lin Yi was amazed at the thought. He regretted not killing Zhong Pingliang back then. But then again back in Songshan, an undercurrent was surging. Lin Yi's own strength was not too high, and there were many enemies, so it was difficult for Lin Yi to harden his heart and be ruthless to the enemies, lest he attracted their collective backlash. Lin Yi went to the pharmacy and prepared the medicine Yushu needed before returning to the villa. In the blink of an eye, the day of the charity gala arrived. That afternoon, classes ended early, and the school auditorium was decorated with lanterns and streamers. Students and celebrities who participated in the auction were sitting in the front row. Everyone was holding a reflective board for bidding, which was also convenient for them to bid. The audience at the back were mostly there to watch the show. Most of the students didn't have the money to bid. They came here to have fun, and their way of showing their love was simple. They just needed to donate money after the auction. After all, the starting price of the auction items weren't low. Since it was a charity event, the value of the item itself was just a formality. The final price depended on how much love everyone donated. Lin Yi sat with Xinyan, Han Jingjing, He Meiyue, and Bai Weitua. Although Bai Weitua wouldn't participate in the auction, he was a student council member of the medicine major. Naturally, he had the right to sit in the front. At 6 that night, the auction started on time. First, the school's director spoke. Then, the student council member announced the purpose of the charity gala and where the donations would go. Then the auction officially started. The first to come out was Yushu, followed by the trap and another girl from the other group. It was quite the entrance for Lin Yizhen. Of course, the people who knew Yushu were shocked as well. Logically speaking, a guy and two girls combination like this usually had the guy walking in the front or in the middle, and the two girls half a step behind or standing on the sides. But they just had to be the background of Yushu. But Lin Yi looked at the three figures on the stage and he understood the reason. Among them, Yushu's chest was the biggest. Needless to say, the trap's chest was flat, and the other girl's chest was like an airport runway. It was understandable why Yushu stood in the middle. Plus, the guy's dressing was similar to the girls. With the three of them appearing, it was more like Yushu was surrounded by the two girls like the moon. Dear guests, school leaders, and students, good evening. I am the host of this charity gala. My name is Shu. Yushu smiled as she picked up the microphone and said to the guests. Pfft. Lin Yi heard Yushu's self-introduction and almost burst out laughing. So, another name? People who weren't familiar with Shu probably wouldn't think much of it. After all, it wasn't a big deal to change a name to fit the theme of a show. As expected, the people only clapped after Yushu was done, but no one laughed. They didn't know that Shu had many names. I am the host, Tai Weiliang. The trap guy introduced himself as well. I am the host, Zhen Huanzi. The airport runway girl introduced herself as well and said a few words of thanks. The charity gala was about to begin. Too much a trap? The real man? Lin Yi felt like he was being struck by lightning. Was he thinking too much, or was this arranged on purpose? However, these were unimportant matters. The auction was quickly pushed forward by the three of them. Needless to say, other than the eloquent little Shu, Tai Weiliang and Zhen Huanzi were also excellent hosts. They knew how to stir up the atmosphere of the auction. The items on auction weren't eye-catching, but it explained a lot about the history of the item and the love it contained. For example, there was a passbook with only a few yuan left. It was donated by a poor student, but it was very meaningful. Chapter 26-27. FF37, FF18, XFF33, FF23, OMU85C0F, 8BF4, 66F4, 65B0, 6700, 5 February, 5C0F, 8BF4, 9605, 8BFB, 7F51. This passbook had accompanied this poor student through high school and into university. Now this passbook was filled to the brim. However, this student was not willing to change it. Instead, he had kept it all the way until the last page. He was now able to work as a tutor and didn't need the help of his fellow villagers anymore. However, he had copied down all the numbers in the passbook, preparing to pay them back one by one after he graduated from university. One had to admit that this passbook had a lot of meaning, and it fit the theme of this auction very well. And so, this passbook was bought by an entrepreneur who often donated to poor students for a high price of 1 million kuai. He was going to keep it when he got back. The items at the end were also very meaningful. Of course, there were some really valuable items like jewelry and antiques, but most of them were donated by the professors and staff of the school. The auction continued in an orderly manner, and the rich people had a tacit understanding with each other. They wouldn't compete unless it was something they really liked. The final price was also related to the financial resources of their respective companies. Some items were sold for tens of thousands, while others were sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions. It didn't matter how much it was a sign of love. The next item is a piece of art. It was donated by Lin Yi from the biology and medicine major. It's a piece of art he made himself. The starting price is 5,000 kwai. It was Tai Weiliang who introduced it, not Yushu. Yushu didn't need to introduce it, since what Lin Yi donated was just a normal item. The carving was exquisite, but Lin Yi wasn't a master sculptor. It would be very expensive if it could reach a few thousand kwai. As for the starting price of 5,000 kwai, that was purely to give the rich people a chance to show their love. Zhao Qibing was sitting beside Yu Panhu and Kang Xiaolong, waiting for an opportunity to buy something to qualify for the masquerade party. But it was still early, and the auction was only halfway through. He wasn't in a rush. He just wanted to see if he could get something he liked. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone? But when he heard the host say that the next item was donated by Lin Yi, he raised his card and shouted before Tai Weiliang could even show the details of Lin Yi's gift. 5 million. Wadash! The crowd went into an uproar. Such an impatient bid. And a bid of 5 million at the start. This was the first time this auction had started. Even if it was a donation, everyone would raise the price step by step. Who would directly shout such a high price at the start? Moreover, the more expensive items were usually things that had some sort of sentimental value to them, or things that were worth a lot of money. Souvenirs like Lin Yi's were actually one of the least popular items. The starting price was low, and it was mainly reserved for small bosses who didn't have much money, or alumni who just returned to their alma mater. Everyone looked at Qibing as if they were looking at an idiot when he said 5 million. But Qibing, however, didn't care at all. He was still casually holding up his auction sign, looking at the guests who were looking at him with disdain. He thought to himself, you people don't know that 5 million in exchange for a broken leg once, it's really worth it. Tai Weiliang was shocked as well. It took him a while to react. Did he miss something? Wasn't this just a normal piece of art? How could it be sold at such a high price? Could it be something good? But he didn't see anything special? If he knew that this was so precious, he would have put it at the end. He shouldn't have taken it out so early. But what Tai Weiliang didn't know was that if he really put it at the end of the auction, it wouldn't be sold at such a high price. The reason was simple. Zhao Qibing wouldn't wait until the end of the auction. He would definitely buy something before the end of the auction. Even if they did see Lin Yi's item in the end, they'd already have something else in their hands and wouldn't bid 5 million straight away. Even if they wanted to get on Lin Yi's good side, they'd only bid 2 or 3 million. 5 million, this gentleman from number 74 has bid 5 million. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Tai Weiliang asked expectantly. After all, Zhao Qibing raised the price to 5 million so suddenly. From his point of view, this might really be something good. There would definitely be people competing for it. He was very satisfied with the result because someone else had made a bid. 6 million. A voice sounded. This person was Fatty Lai. Lin Yi didn't expect someone to bid 5 million for a piece of art he casually made. Originally this item was for Fatty Lai. Although Fatty Lai wasn't a businessman in Donghai, he was from the nearby Songshan city. He was also a well-known company, so it wasn't surprising that Fatty Lai would come here. As for Fatty Lai, he didn't expect Zhao Qibing to bid first. But this was what Lin Yi told him to bid on Lin Yi's art. So Fatty Lai still bid. Fuck. Zhao Qibing froze. He didn't expect someone to compete with him for a piece of art. From his point of view, if it wasn't for Lin Yi, he wouldn't pick it up even if it was thrown in front of him, let alone spend money to buy it. But he had already bid. If he didn't compete and Lin Yi wasn't happy, he wouldn't be able to do anything if he didn't break his leg. After all, Lin Yi could tell the school that someone wanted him to break his leg. This suggestion was too difficult. He couldn't do it. And when that happened, the school would definitely support Lin Yi. After all, breaking someone's leg wasn't something that he could do. It was considered intentional injury. And so, Zhao Qibing continued bidding. 8 million. To the hidden heir of the Zhao family, this amount of money was just a small amount of money. If he could master the 1,000 legs, that would be the most important thing. Old Master Zhao was also very supportive of his matter, so money was not a problem. Tai Weiliang was dumbfounded. There was really someone competing for this? Not only that, but Qibing had even raised the price even higher? Was this thing really that good? In fact, it wasn't only Tai Weiliang who was dumbfounded. Everyone else was dumbfounded as well. Especially the bosses. There were many people with good eyesight, but they couldn't see what was so good about Lin Yi's art. 8 million, is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Mr. Number 74 bid 8 million. Tai Weiliang came back to his senses and quickly asked. FF37, W03C9, 30FB, off 4D.